Madness Podcast, the best of the underground. Make madness your ritual.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Hopefully you are doing well. It is Friday, a nice crazy week this week. A little bit of storm, a little bit of blowing things around. Lots of crazy weather out there in the Twin Cities. You good? You can hear okay? All right, just getting started here. Thank you for joining us. It's Friday, like I said. Beautiful day out there today. It sounds like there's going to be a good, solid weekend of weather, which I'm super stoked about. I wanted to say thank you to all the people that showed up at the shows, the Convalescent show on the 3rd and the Malevolent show on the 6th at Skyway Theater. I appreciate it very much. Means a lot to us to have a spot to do this stuff at the Skyway Theater Studio B, and we appreciate all the folks that were able to make it out. We had a blast. Those two shows, and the past one before that, and the week before that was a Deterioration show. So I appreciate everybody showing up for those. Unfortunately, with the scene going on, I mean, we'll get into this. I want to say welcome to my guest here, Gene Vogel. How you doing, Gene? Let me make sure I got the correct.
Am I here? No, I'm not there.
Yeah, you're there.
I'm not. I don't hear anything.
You can't hear you. Maybe you're.
That's where you got me.
Yeah.
Why don't you got me in there? Is that just for you? You think you're special?
No, it just, I have more control over my shit, and I can hear. I don't know why I don't have you in there. I mean, well, you can unplug and put it in there if you want to. If you
I still can't. I can't hear.
Can't hear anything at all.
It's kind of making a weird, chirpy, strange sound. And that one was too. I tried that other headset, and both of them were making the same sound.
Making a weird noise.
It's like a bird is trying to have sex with my ear.
Hold on, is it? Let me see which one it is. You tell me if you can.
No, it's the first one.
The first one?
Yeah, I switched over.
All right, I can just plug you right into this fucker.
Well, yeah, that's why you got it. I thought, geez, I got the same unit. They're awesome.
Oh, do you?
Oh hell, there we go.
Lot louder. Oh,
well,
yeah, there.
it's not just louder; it's clear.
Well, I'm sure it is. It's
not getting ear raped by Big Bird.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Wait, yeah, that's me. You were in. What is the number there? Does that say one?
It's number 1. It looks like, yes.
Okay, so we're on the same page here. Good there. Now you can hear just fine. It's not too loud. It's
I'm
good?
solid.
Okay,
man.
Solid. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. If you're joining us.
How come I don't get a cool mic like that?
Oh, well, it's a good mic. It's not a bad mic. It's just this was the only one. I didn't want to spend that much money on all the 3 mics that I have, you know.
I mean, understand, especially like with those prices.
$500 a shot or something weird like that. I don't know. They're probably not that expensive now.
That much, but there's still plenty.
Yeah. Yeah, I got this one for super cheap, so I was happy about that. And it was only for recording anyway. That's why I bought it, you know. And I think I used it one time, and that was it. That's
coming in handy now.
Yeah, man. Why not?
Yeah, you sound great in my ears.
Well, how you been, man? It's been a long time since you've been on the show. I mean, you've been through a whole lot of different stuff. We were talking about work stuff when you got here. But what else is new? You still jamming? You still playing guitar?
I'm playing with myself.
Yeah,
yes.
Quite a bit, or just
whenever I can.
How many times a week you think?
I try to do it daily.
Man after my own heart, man. You know what I mean? You got to.
But you don't always feel like it.
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like a chore. But
yeah, that's when you get the undercarriage. You know what I mean? That's your hands start to.
Yeah, cramp up.
Yeah. You don't.
Things get awkward.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. You know what I mean?
Wife walks in.
Yeah. What are you doing? How come not involved? You know, that type of thing. You know
exactly.
Well, I didn't want to bother you. I knew you were watching your favorite show. You know, that type of shit. That's what happens with me, anyways. You know, what are you doing in there? I don't worry about it. It's good. Just go back to watching your show.
Just taking care of business.
Yep. Ozarks. Let the Ozarks go. So what's good, man? What's happening?
Hope everything. I don't know. A lot. I guess we just celebrated 200 episodes, our 200th, give or take. I mean, I had to go through. Funny thing is, I went through like our complete episode list. I haven't been maintaining any sort of list.
Yeah.
I finally did it because I knew we were getting close to 200.
Yeah.
And I did this complete audit, and then I realized with some of the ones I had numbered because they were music specials, and then I'm like, well, I should be numbering those anyhow.
Yeah.
Eventually, I started to.
Yeah.
And once I factored all those in, minus a couple of solo episodes that I did, which were these things I call 5 minutes alone, just kind of one-off, kind of go on a rant, play a tune, nothing, that I've ever assigned a number to.
Sure.
And then we were getting close to 200. So we had to plan out what we wanted to do, what we were going to do for the 200.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just
200. Did you think you'd make it that far?
Yes, I would say yes, but you just never know because we should have been at 200 a long time ago.
Yeah.
But there's the lean years where, sometimes you're scheduling, I'm working with Nate.
Yep.
And when you're working with somebody else, the schedules don't always jive.
Right.
And I wasn't really too keen on doing my own episodes.
Sure.
But then eventually I kind of dabbled with it. And then after a while, it's like, well, then Nate moves to Colorado.
Yeah.
So
let me back up. Let me back you up a little bit. So with the solo stuff, like you weren't really sure if you were going to do any of those at first, or you knew that you wanted to continue doing the show. You didn't want to just because you scheduling thing, you just figured you would do a few solo ones, or
yes. But then it was what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to do interviews without Nate.
Right.
But so we did start doing that, and then COVID hit.
Yep.
So that screwed up all of our plans because we had started to build a list of people who wanted to come on.
Sure.
And we had Alan Town come on.
Yep.
And then we had Rob from every band in the Twin Cities come on.
Yeah. Oh, that guy. Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah.
The most recent member of Black Flood Diesel.
Yeah. The icon.
We had Rob Carlson come on, and then everything started to be the plan to shut down.
Right.
Basically, it was starting to come into play.
Yeah.
So we just kind of stopped doing interviews. We actually stopped getting together. We weren't recording.
Mm-hmm.
So, and things in 2019 always weren't timely.
Yeah.
Or regular.
Yeah.
And 2020 really kicked us in the butt.
Yeah.
And we didn't. But in hindsight, I should have made plans, or I should have pushed myself to figure out what I wanted to do on my own.
Sure.
And eventually I started to do that. And
for those of you that don't know, Gene and Nate, they host a show called the Disciples of the Watch podcast, dotwpod.com, correct? Still got that?
Correct.
Okay. And so that's what we're talking on about is the formats and how things have gone. 200 episodes though is pretty epic. That's a big deal,
Well, and like I said, we've been doing this since 2014, so we should have been at 200 a long time ago. Even Nate will tell you that.
Yep.
But it's just with scheduling and without the creative, and that's the thing. I'm a guitar player. I'm a songwriter. I'm a singer, sort of.
Yeah.
I'm a creative person, but for some reason I wasn't putting that creativity into expanding the podcast.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of had a format, and I thought this is our format, and this is what we need to stick to.
Yeah.
And then we started to kind of wiggle it within that format. We started to expand ourselves a little bit more. So it wasn't this rigid type of thing.
Yep.
Then we started doing track by tracks. We started doing, eventually got to doing some worst to best on a catalog. Slayer, I think we did. Megadeth, Overkill. Or did we do a worst to best Overkill? I think we did an Overkill.
I think you did.
So we started doing, kind of expanding ourselves.
Yep.
And it actually became more, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say it was more... not more interesting, but it allowed us to kind of expand ourselves, and it opened up things for us musically even.
Yeah.
To where instead of us trying to make an hour and a half episode with 3 hours of content, we decided, well, let's make our hour and a half episode where we talk about the current events, we share music.
Right.
We talk about, stuff, because we're people who purchase music, and we want to support that concept, buy music, support the artist.
Yep.
But we also want to talk about Deep Purple's Richie Blackmore discography and how we rank it.
Right.
And that could be its own separate entity, and that could be an hour and a half to 2 hours or whatever it needs to be.
Right.
And then that way somebody who wants to hear Richie Blackmore's Deep Purple discography from worst to best in our opinions can hear that, and then people who don't want to hear that can still tune into our regular episode. So that really we started to open things up quite a bit more, and that also opened me up to do more. And Nate's going to be doing some of his own episodes solo eventually.
Awesome.
He's got some gear in place. Just I don't know what he's planning.
Yeah.
He's kind of kept it tight-lipped, so I'm hoping he's got a plan. If he doesn't have a plan, well, he'll eventually have one, and then he'll tell me. I'm not sure where things are at.
Sure.
But in the meantime, the show is still rocking. We get together. We try to get together twice a month, and it's been doing pretty well.
Right.
And then I'm doing extra bonus episodes kind of in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fucking fantastic, man.
So we should be at 300 in no time.
Well, why not, man? You know what I mean? I kind of hit that same thing with the creativity stuff. After the whole Lee's thing went down, and I kind of just took a break from everything. You know what I mean? I stopped playing in my band, and just, I just needed to unplug for a while. You know what I'm saying? And then I started doing the tie-dye shit, and that kind of took my creativity, and I was having fun doing that. You know what I mean? So I totally know what you mean when you're saying that. And stumbling back into this and doing more video than just audio stuff, I mean, I wanted to continue doing the video stuff. I went back and had like 66 subscribers. I didn't even realize I had, and I'm like, I already have 50 videos up here. Why not just keep going with it? And running into Jared, Jared brought me down to his little spot, and he had been trying to get his shit moving for so long. Then I was just like, okay, well, this is pretty cool. I like what you did here, what you have going on with the videos and stuff. So that's kind of where I started leaning towards, where the previous episodes with just the audio, you can get more into the music. You're not as regulated, and with YouTube, you're always getting muted, or you know what I mean? Like they're pulling your stuff down, or you know what I mean?
I got a question for you. So
Sure.
you're can you not like do a music break, link to a video on YouTube that's actually the song? Or I'm suppose you can't do that live.
I've never done that before, and you probably can. I believe you can. I believe you can, because I know that with the switcher, the Stream Deck, I know that that Jared figured out a way to do that to where you can even skip. You mess with the code a little bit too, where you skip all the ads that they have. He figured out how to do it to just one button, and it plays the video like that.
And that way YouTube gets their
royalties or whatever. Yeah.
And then you're not going to get dinged for copyright infringement.
I mean, you probably could that way. I guess I never thought of it that way, because I was always worried about, hey, are you driving down the street today? Well, guess what? You could buy, you know what I mean? The fucking ads that come up all the time, in the middle of the shit. Hey, are you having problems with your penis today? You know what I mean? And the guy's all sad, and the chick comes in, well, guess what? You got boner gummies, that type of shit. So I just never thought of it that way. You know what I mean? And I've done a couple with just music, just the audio stuff, and I've been wanting to do some of those. It's just, it takes time. You get one idea, and then something, I'm a squirrel guy. I'm the guy that's, I got to go over here. You know what I mean?
Oh yes.
I get pulled away pretty easily. But I'm glad that you guys are still doing it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I am too. And it's a great way to keep up with Nate, with what's going on in his world down there in Denver. We got all the things worked out as far as just being able to do the podcast, which actually that wasn't really too difficult. It was just a matter of getting him some simple gear to get started.
Yeah, with the audio and stuff, everything
but
like that.
now he's chomping at the bit, and he actually dropped some serious money on a Roadcaster, so he's set up. And we haven't recorded yet with him doing the Roadcaster.
It's going to sound so sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because I'm the guy who does all the editing. I gotta do all
boost him and
that's
a pain in the ass.
Well, he records his signal, I record mine, and then I just piggyback them. But I also record everything in backup.
Oh, gotcha.
So and then I record them on separate tracks.
Yep.
So no matter what, I have some sort of fail safe.
Sure.
That ideally I don't want to use, but
it's always good to have backup.
It's good to have backup. Yeah.
Yep.
We had that problem. We went to Rockin' Pod in Nashville last year, and interviewing Vinny Appice and Carmine Appice, or Appice. I forget which. They got the different last names, so to speak. They call it. They screw with people that way. I did bring my Roadcaster, but I thought this just seems too much.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I should have did it.
Yeah.
I should have brought it out, even if I didn't have them use the headphones.
Yeah.
I should have still brought it out, because I would have got a much better recording product.
Yeah.
I ended up, I had a recording device, but I think I still had it set to record live music.
Oh.
Back when I was recording Mortificator.
So the decibels were set lower?
Set really low. So the quality was just really squashed, because it was supposed to be getting pounded with sound. Well, we got, what is it? Carmine's in his 70s, I think.
Yeah.
So he's not a really loud talker. And we ended up, I think, reverting to our cell phones because we both ran our cell phones for backup recording.
Yeah.
And that actually sounded better than the unit that I was using with the
Did you use a
built-in
Zoom?
microphones.
Did you use a Zoom?
Yeah, it was
or Tascam or something?
Tascam, yeah, thank you. Tascam TR40 or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
And it's not the Tascam's fault. It was completely my fault.
Yeah. Just didn't check your levels.
Didn't check the levels. I didn't check the recording properly. I should have done a test, pulled the chip out, put it in my computer, threw on some headphones.
Well, you're excited.
Listen to it.
You're excited. You want to get it done. You don't want to inconvenience them because you know.
No, well, I could have did that in the hotel room. That's the thing is, if I had been smart, I would have prepped better. And so it was completely my fault.
Yeah.
Just screwing the pooch on that.
I've never done that before.
But luckily, I'm sure you're perfect. But just a little bit of that preparation would have helped in that case. But in hindsight, I brought the recorder down. I should have just used it.
Yeah.
And actually now I even found that you can get a battery connector. So you can bring if you have a strong enough power brick, you can record with the Rodecaster and use it completely wireless without having to plug it in.
Yeah.
I just need to get the power brick. I got the cable. I just don't have the brick yet.
Yeah.
But I'm basically planning for the future.
Or you can buy the Zoom right there. The Zoom 8 you can actually use with battery power too. The Zoom 8
I ain't buying more stuff.
And that's what I mean. I bought that first because I really like that. But the buttons for this stuff, when you want to hit something, if you want to cue a couple tunes on there, you have the buttons ready for it.
Yep.
And I like them that they're big in my fucking big stupid hands. And with that, if I forgot my memory chip, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have it ran into my computer. I had everything separated. You know what I'm saying? Like all my whole setup at the other spot was completely different. I had ran it through the mixer and then into a different sound card that it didn't hook to this, so it didn't get the buzz, you know what I mean, that type of shit. Yeah. So I separated everything, and then I had the Zoom as a backup, so I would just run into the mixer, then run the mixer out to the Zoom, and then you know what I mean, I would never shoot it live, you know what I mean, video wise with the old format. So when I got over here, I'm like, okay, now it's time to revamp everything. Let's try more shit to confuse me, you know what I mean, that type of stuff. So once I had that going, I really liked that setup. It was good. It worked good. I did have it hooked to the computer, like, instead of having what the hell they call a fucking, the little box that everybody gets, the converter between the two. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got them. I don't know. Everybody uses them things. And I to transfer the signal from, say you're going to
like a DI box or something?
Well, kind of. Well, yeah, sort of. So if you wanted to record your...
So that doesn't have USB out, that'll work?
It does. But this one does not.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, this was the original one I was using. I bought this one because my other one, my other mixing board took a shit on me, a Mackie that I had bought, one of the new Mackies. All the pots were going bad, and I couldn't replace the strip of pots. So and I called a dude in Chicago, like, hey, can you fix this for me? The guy's like, the amount of money for you to ship it to me, for me to fix it, you'd be wasting your money. You might as well buy a new one. The thing was brand new. I had it like less than a year. Oh, I tried getting a hold of people and like warranties and all that bullshit. So I ended up buying the Yamaha. I love the Yamaha, but it didn't have the shit that thing had. And I didn't run it through a computer because my computers were junk. So I was like, I bought a new computer. I bought a different monitor. You know what I mean? Like I had upgrades. I was upgrading when I wasn't even podcasting. That was the thing. I was like, okay, I really want to do this. I want to do that. And then I saw, Jared brought me on his podcast and I saw what he was doing. So I just kind of like, he goes, dude, you should do this. You should go on YouTube. You should try to do this like that, And I'm going, okay, well, it's a music podcast, but I don't play a lot of music like I used to. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I definitely noticed the format.
Yeah, man. 14 songs, and I love it. But, again, the break between the conversation too, you know what I mean? Like hey Angel, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. It's just kind of,
the flow.
It breaks up the flow. And I was able to get back into the flow with that format before. It wasn't a problem, but I think it just, it flows better and it's not as long. You know what I mean? Like 3 hours is a long time, and a lot of people, even with Joe Rogan, I got to go back and listen to the shit. Oh, did I say that name? I probably shouldn't say that name. I'll probably get canceled for that shit. But, it was just one of those things where I felt like I could shorten it up, tighten it up a little bit more. And I think you've even said that to me in the past, like, hey, you could do these shorter episodes. I enjoy those better. You know what I mean? Like you said that to me a long time ago, so it's like all the things that I had on my mind kind of weighing back and forth. I was just like, okay, let's just do it this way now. Fuck it. And if I have a band come on, I usually do one song in the beginning, one song at the end. We talk about what they're writing about, what they're doing. And, it gets the point across, and I don't get, blocked on YouTube either, which is fine. I do local stuff. I don't really play any national shit anymore, which is sad. You know what I'm saying? Like people want to hear new shit, like I think that's the dumbest thing about YouTube. It's like, making a live card to where you push your cue and it pops up on the video what you're listening to, where you can go get it. You know what I mean? Set a link. Okay, I got this from iTunes. I got this from Spotify. I got, you can buy this album at their website. If you put all that information in there, and when you're playing the song and YouTube goes, hey, they're playing a song that, oh, okay, they're sending it to the right spot. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, why not be able to do that? And I always, even since we were kids, when you heard a good album, you're going to tell your friends about it. Dude, you got to hear this album, man. You know what I mean?
You'd bring it to their house
Yes.
and say, let's clear some time.
Yeah.
Listen to this album.
Yeah. Dude, you got to hear it. Right there. That's the spot. You know what I mean? That the good album. And yeah, that's it. Really.
Yeah, I've been looking at, because I've been having to pull old episodes off because we only have so much space.
Yeah.
And we don't pay a lot for our system for hosting.
Yeah.
So I'm not really too keen on dropping more money into doing that.
Right.
So I basically just have been backing out old episodes. And what I want to do, and my brother-in-law actually, he says, why don't you just throw those on YouTube? It's like, well, I'll figure it out. But yeah, it's a chore. But I've been saving them instead of just getting rid of them. And I think I have a old hard drive full of stuff.
Right.
That I can probably cull some of the old episodes from too, if necessary. But the ones I'm more keen on is the independent music specials and any interviews, which we haven't done a lot.
Yeah.
Tracy from Pomodal was our first.
Yeah.
That one actually still will get dinged every once in a while. That'll get a download or two or three or however many.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in a month. So I really was reluctant to pull that one down, but that thing's been sitting up there since 2014, and I just pulled it down this morning to make space for episode 202, which I'll be releasing tomorrow. As well, what is that, the 14th? Yeah, Friday the 13th today.
Yeah, nice.
Perfect timing for us to get together.
Yeah.
But I just need to get back into doing video. I haven't done any video work since I was in Monaghan.
Yeah.
And I basically threw together a video that I put up on YouTube a long time ago.
Right.
And it's if you don't use it, man, you lose it.
Right.
And
I've been feeling that a lot lately, man.
I'm trying to figure out what's going to be the best thing, and ideally for low to $0.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, because I know once I start down that rabbit hole, that I have a feeling that I'm going to start getting creative there too, and I'm going to have more ideas, and then maybe we start to shift some of this episodes into video and audio, or maybe just the interviews or whatever the hell it might be. But that's one of my sticking points as far as our main episode is we play music that YouTube will flag.
Right.
Or episodes that not even just our main episodes. When we do our Deep Purple or we do our Overkill or whatever it might be. We did a track by track on Poison.
Yeah.
I still played music from those bands on those episodes.
Yeah.
And luckily our listener base isn't broad enough to get the attention of any record labels.
But here's the thing though too, is that you just kind of came up with a curve around on that one too. If you were gonna do that and pull, say if you were gonna edit them instead of doing them live, like if we're doing this live right now, so I couldn't cut in those videos, but you totally could, or links to them, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we're going to listen to this right here, and you point up and it goes to a link every time you do that. It's something stupid like that, but it would work, and you would be able to, people could enjoy that stuff. That's why I was kind of like, I did a best of with Artemis Sear this last New Year, right? When we turned into 2022, and he was like, I made a playlist that people can actually go to my website, and we put the link up, and for them to listen to track by tracks when we if they wanted to see the videos or if they wanted to, any of that stuff. We still played all the music, but it was like just the audio version of it. We didn't do video. You know what I'm saying? Like we could have done it a different way. We could have just had a link straight to his website. They could have listened to the tunes we were listening to, you know what I mean? And you could just keep talking through the whole deal. And if you're editing it, it's simple to cut and paste all that shit together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many ways you can do it. But again, how much time do you have to actually, how the editing goes?
Yes, exactly. And that's why I want to do something quick and easy. And whatever software I used when I was doing Monogon videos, that one was it was very intuitive for me to pick it up. And I don't know if it actually might be on this computer. We were just talking about, this is my old computer. Yeah. It's kind of dinosaur, but all of a sudden one of the Windows updates fixed it. Yeah. And now things are working better, but it's still.
I think that's so crazy that you have a computer, you do an update, and then all of a sudden you get the blue screen of death, like you said.
No, it was trying to do the update and it wouldn't trigger. It kept having to, then it would blue screen, then it would back it out.
Oh.
And so for some reason the Windows update wouldn't take. So I bought a new computer, a year and a half or so ago. I didn't even know how long I've had that thing now.
Yeah.
And then one day I just decided I'm going to kick this on update again and see what happens. It updated, it came up, and fresh as a daisy.
That's so crazy.
It was all brand new. It was like, it still works. So yeah, it's been a great backup or a side computer if I'm going to use it for the podcast or whatnot. Yeah. Or like I said, I have it down by my guitar rig. If I want to look up a tune, I want to noodle around. How do I play this Rush tune?
Right.
I go look it up and then I go, okay, well, how do I play Poison? Because that's
So musically, dude, like how is that? How are things with that? Are you jamming with anybody? I mean, is Mortificator done then completely, or?
Mortificator is pretty much, I am Mortificator.
Yeah.
That's it. We did try when the band, after the Mosh Out Suicide event up in Alexandria.
Yep.
After that event, we knew the band that was our final show with that group.
Yeah.
With that group of people, I should say. Immediately, the bass player switched over to guitar. I had a drummer lined up. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then, and Mike, when he switched over from bass, which he shouldn't have done. I mean, he's a beast at bass, and he gets so much compliments on his bass sound.
Yeah.
And he's kind of that hybrid guitar player, bass player type of vibe, but not like, some guitar players, you could tell they're guitar players and they play bass.
Yeah.
He just kind of took some of that guitar player element and infused it into his bass playing, but he had the ear of a bass player.
Okay.
So, I don't want to make that sound insulting or anything, but he had.
I saw that podcast you were on the other day, by the way, and you're an asshole.
So he had, he had a really good formula working for him. He switched over to guitar, and then I'm speculating, but I think he wanted to start over.
Oh, I gotcha.
Which means all the stuff we had just recorded, our first demo. Yeah, I guess I call it a demo. The 1459 sessions. He didn't seem like he wanted to learn the songs.
Yeah.
He was like, let's start writing new stuff. I'm like, okay, that's great, but we got a drummer that we got to break in. And the sooner we get him in, the sooner we can get in another guitar player and a bass, or no, sorry, not another guitar player, because I was back on guitar, doing guitar and vocals.
Yep.
So we just need to get a bass player in, but let's get the drummer worked up first before we start trying to limp in a bass player.
Sure.
And after 2 rehearsals, Mike was like, I just don't want to do all the work anymore.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I can appreciate it. I didn't want to do the work, but I still wanted to be in a band.
Right.
So I wasn't going to give up.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. And I folded it up, and it just kind of, then 2020 comes along. And, but I mean, that Mosh Out Suicide, I think the 3rd year anniversary is coming up on that. So I've been out of it since then. I mean, we gave it a shot. We tried to keep the band going, and then it just fizzled out. And it hasn't been a real big priority, although I've been still creating. Yeah. I'll be down there noodling and riffing. Okay, I got to record that. I can't lose that. That's a Mortificator that right there.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of files and just haven't sat down with.
Did you jam them out? Yeah.
Yes, and jammed them out. And I'm one of those guitar players that I like to work with a drummer.
Yeah.
I want to bounce ideas, or I want you, give me something. Okay, now I'm going to work with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I need to do is either start programming my own drums or tried just doing it to a click track to see if I can just that simple tempo can keep me kind of sparked to where I can hear the drums in my head.
Yep.
And work out the guitar riffs, and then start to put A to B to C to D, and get myself a song.
I suppose that programming stuff would be really time consuming to learn too. You know what I mean?
That's the thing is, do I want to spend all this time learning a drum software? I mean, I've dabbled, and I've done some stuff with that rudimentary, but it's been a long time.
Sure.
Or do I put all my energies into editing video and figuring out that thing? You know, there's only so much
time sink.
Time in this on this planet that we've got, and then when you're working 40 hours or more a week, you know, and that doesn't even consider your drive time.
Yeah.
And then you know, if you're doing self-care, you know, meditation. If you're doing meditation, if you're doing any form of exercise, which we should be doing, especially at our ages, you know.
Yeah. Well, then you have time with your family too. You want to spend time with kids and grandkids, and
got to figure all that
life
stuff
and,
out.
You know, everything like that. So that's just crazy. How did your 2020 with the COVID shit? How did that all go down with you and your wife? How did you guys fare through that whole deal?
For the two of us, great.
Yeah.
For her business, her business shut down.
Yeah.
Because she can't be touching people. She's a massage therapist.
Sure.
So that's done. But then luckily she was able to get unemployment.
Yeah.
And I was in construction.
Yeah.
You're front line.
Yep.
I mean, you're essential.
Yeah. That's the truth, man.
But I wasn't doing commercial. I mean, I could see commercial construction. I feel that's more important than working on people's personal homes. But
that's when people wanted to fix stuff though, is when
at first it was basically just keep the jobs going that are there.
Yeah.
And then I think we were expecting this huge drop off. And then it was like after 14 days, you know, we flattened the curve, and then we went into 21 days. And then we get into, you know, month 2, month 3.
Right.
All of a sudden people are like, you know, let's fix up what we got. We're going to be here a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the phones, you know, don't die down. And we were plenty busy the whole time. But we're in and out of people's houses. I don't know these people. I don't know how clean they are.
Right.
You know, but back then, knowing what we know now, as long as you're relatively healthy, I don't feel that I'm at risk.
Right.
I'm slightly overweight, but not to where I think it's at unsafe levels.
I feel attacked right now.
I was trying to look away. But that's one of the things that they talk about is that can be problematic.
Yep, comorbidities.
But even still, there are heavy people that got it, and for them it was, you know, 2 weeks for a cold or whatever, and then they were fine.
Yeah.
But not everybody fared that way. You get kids that were, you know, running marathons and then get COVID and die.
Yeah.
You
never know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it seemed like, you know, as time wore on, people seemed to be a little bit more open to it and a little less concerned, you know, coming into the house. If you know, are you wearing a mask? Some people were like, yeah, put your mask on. Then you get to where you're doing your job. Then you can take your mask off. Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. And then there's some people that were like,
how far?
Just take it off.
How far out was your wife with before she could go back to her doing her job?
I want to say,
or where she was comfortable because you guys were doing it out of your place, right?
Yes. She has a home office.
Her clients would come to your guys' place. So that had to have been stretched out for a good long while.
It was. Yeah. It took a while. And then there was a lot of regulations and, you know, as soon as they walk in, everything's got to be sanitized.
Yep.
They walk out.
Sanitize.
She shuts down for an hour, sanitizes everything.
Yep.
Gives herself a little bit of a break, and then then hopefully somebody else is willing to come into your house,
right,
and pay for a massage therapist to work on them,
right. When you're really, I mean, shit, I know tons of people that probably could have used that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're stressed out, you're anxiety ridden because you don't know, you know, your kids are going to get sick. Are you going to get sick? I mean, that whole scenario.
But part of it's the money
crazy.
too.
Yeah,
it's for some people it is what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bonus kind of thing if they can get a massage. But for some people it's literally therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets some people that can hardly walk that need that help.
Yeah.
You know, their muscles have to be, you know, coaxed into, okay,
Yeah.
loosen up a little bit.
Yep.
And, she's seen people where it's like every week they're in there.
Oh my
and then they
goodness.
can start spacing it out. And
Yeah.
I can hear them as they're leaving. They're going, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Even if it's for the next however many hours, for the next however many days,
Yeah.
for
It's
that
so worth it.
moment, yes, it's that muscle isn't, all
Yeah.
wrenched up or that pain is gone for that period of time. And
Yeah.
you can feel more like a human being, or taking less Advil or whatever it is you need to do
Sure.
to calm that pain.
Yeah.
But then eventually, she started ramping up, and then business started to pick up. And so things are great. We suffered through it. And I don't think we were really hurting in any fashion between
That's good.
the stuff that through the government programs that she was getting, and then me still working full time.
That's good. That's good, man. That's always fantastic to hear. I mean, it's been so long since we've talked, you know what I mean? And
Yes, other than at the Renaissance.
Yeah, yep.
We ran into each other at the
Yep.
Renaissance and chatted for a little bit, but even still, that's pretty short. And then we're also there with our wives, and we
Yep.
don't want to dominate the conversation with this
Yeah.
kind of jibber jabber.
That happens, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
My wife
exactly.
does this whole okay, She still gets mad at me when I don't introduce her to people. You know what I mean? And I tell her a lot of times these are people that, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be around a lot. You know what I mean? You're going to see them once in 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times I'll just go, don't worry about it. And she'll go, I'm your wife, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? And I feel bad about it. But just recently, God, who the hell was it? And she just leaned forward. Oh, by the way, I'm his wife, and I'm sorry. I'm bad at this. You know what I mean? And his wife did the same thing. He's horrible at it, and that type of shit. But what are you going to do?
We're guys. That's just
It's the way it is, man.
how we tend to operate.
People are saying hello. Crystal Shanka, what's happening? Thank you for joining us. Craig Rosen's beard. Nice beard, Greg. Hey, thanks, buddy. I'm growing it out to someday look like you. And you probably shaved yours off since it's getting close to summertime, man. You're one of them cats that. Craig is one of those guys that, you know what I mean? He'll grow a nice big chin strap and then cut it right off. And you're like, dude, what did you do? I just got too hot. I need to, he's a construction guy too. Thank you guys for joining us. And we're talking about your wife, and she's in the chat, probably flipping us off or doing something. I don't know, watching us. But thank you. And Crystal said she shaved hers. Thank you. Well, I mean, like 2 or 3 hairs down here. That's good stuff. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it very much. So with beyond the COVID stuff, I mean, what do we had? We had riots and social unrest in the whole thing too. Did you have any kind of issues with that? Did you have to go into the city? Did you run into any of the protests or any of that stuff? I mean,
No, actually, now that you got me thinking about it, I think because we were working, we were all over the place still, I don't recall ever being in the cities. Actually, I don't think I really saw much of it until I went to visit Nate in Minneapolis, I think. And then at some point, him and I went somewhere. I think we may have went to a record store or something together. And then I started to see some of the areas where everything's boarded up.
Yeah.
And that was, so for me, I was far removed. Being a shock bee kind of helps keep away from the things that were going on at that time.
Yeah, I almost came and lived on your couch because, we live in Maple Grove, so it's about the same. You know what I mean? You
got that
your
distance.
distance.
Yeah.
But working in construction, and we had a building start on fire, which was the one right outside of the Midtown Commons is what it was called, but it was right outside the Target right there. Right across the street from that Target that got burnt down, or ransacked basically, and then the AutoZone was right in the same parking lot. They burnt the whole building down, and we lost, I think, 2 or 3 machines plus, so two or three JLG machines, and then a full crane got melted to where it was bent kind of over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. And then we lost another building in St. Paul right around the same time, the one across from the Excel Energy Center that was like 2 weeks away from, being framed up, done, So lots of craziness going on in that whole mix too, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I kept up with it, but I kept away from it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was at. I thought I don't need to go downtown and be in anybody's way or become a problem, or, I'm still working.
Yeah.
So I don't need to possibly get sick and then not be able to work. And then am I going to be able to get any sort of, because that's the thing is especially when it first came out. I mean, we were expecting it was doom and gloom.
Yeah.
You know, we were starting to hear the rumorings that they were going to be shutting down.
Yeah.
I started to think, well, how much vacation time do I got? How long can I ride this out? 2 weeks? Okay, I'll be okay for 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then, like that Friday, all of a sudden, my boss, I get whispers through the construction crews that construction's not shutting down, so we'll see you Monday.
Yeah.
So here I'm thinking I got 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
To flatten the curve.
Yeah, we got it right away. I mean, we ended up holding out till November, I think, is when we caught it. Was the first time was November of 2020. Yeah. So we pushed through the summer. It was March, mid-March is when they start shutting down, right?
I want to say it was April.
Somewhere around March or April, right around that. It had to have been
Around
at
that
the end of March into April, I think.
Because I think that when we interviewed Rob, oh wait a minute, was Alan may have been in the February, and then Rob may have been at the end of February. So yeah, it would have been in March or April. I don't remember the exact timeline on that anymore. Even with that, because that's kind of part of how I remember it is we had done the interview with Alan, we had done the interview with Rob, we were starting to get requests, we were going to start building a game plan.
Sure.
But it was like as soon as I'm editing Rob, their podcast to post, there's talk of everything's going to start shutting down.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay, we got to wait and see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and Nate has asthma, and he's going to be reluctant to just sit in a podcast space with a couple of sweaty dudes.
Right. Did either of you guys or anyone in your family end up getting it right away?
I never have, as far as I know, and nor my wife.
Yeah.
Nate did get it. He down in Colorado.
Okay.
About a week ago, 2 weeks. No, it was because we recorded our episode 199, and he was on his first week or second week, I forget. So he was a little bit coffee.
Sure.
And then we 4 days later, we recorded the episode 200, so we could kind of bank it, and I could as soon as 199 was done editing, I could post it, and then I immediately began working on editing and putting together the music
200.
for 200 and getting that all set up, and so I could launch it quicker, because usually 200 would have been this Sunday.
Sure.
I think that's how the timeline works, but I wanted to get it out sooner because we had the independent music specials that are coming out. That episode 201 was today, 202 is going to be tomorrow. And he was better the 4 days later, but still had to take breaks and have a few coughing jags. But
so he fared well through it?
Yes.
It didn't mess with his lungs or anything? Did
Nope.
he lose his sense of smell or any of that stuff?
That, you know what, actually I didn't even think to ask him about that. I knew he was having coughing, and I think he was dealing with headaches too, but he was able to work remote.
Well, that's good.
And he was still functional, and didn't feel like he just couldn't do anything.
That's good.
So he
that first bout
well.
was a motherfucker. I was out for 16 days, and I mean, I was by day 7, 8, somewhere around there. I laid down. I'd been taking acetaminophen at the time because they didn't want you to take ibuprofen because they were worried about
the
issues with that, right? So I'm taking that, and I stopped taking it because I do this thing. If I'm in pain and I take it, then I'm out of pain. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling okay. I can function. And then I get to myself like, okay, what if the pain's really bad and I'm taking these pain pills, right? And they're for some odd reason, I have like this really low tolerance for ibuprofen and aspirin. You know what I mean? I could smoke weed till you're fucking green in the face, or you know what I mean? Like I could party my ass off, but give me a couple aspirin and I'm like, okay, I feel good. I'm okay. No big deal. So I stopped taking the pain pills and laid down, and I sleep with a machine, and all of a sudden my lungs just start killing me. And I was like, oh my God. I had 2 friends in ICU at the time. One like almost got intubated. They refused to do that, which was crazy because it was the day before I went into the hospital, right? And the one sister was in ICU. She was doing okay. The other sister, they were going to intubate her, and talk to the other sister like, hey, you need to make some decisions because your parents aren't here or aren't around anymore on your sister's health, whether or not if she passes away or not, if we put her on her ventilator, And
Really?
she's like, holy shit, I'm sick right now. I can't be making these decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I go to the hospital because I'm just like, my lungs kill. I'm going in. I'm freaking out. My wife is asleep. She had taken her medicine to go to sleep. So I didn't want to wake her up. She's snoring away. And I'm like, shit, I can't breathe. I'm going to the hospital. So I go there. She wakes up at 4 a.m. Where the hell are you? I'm like, in the hospital. What are you talking about? They said I just had, serious inflammation from coughing so much. And the Tylenol was taking the pain away, and I should keep doing that. And they said I had a spot on one of my lungs, and they're like, that's normal for COVID. But if you want to come in a couple days, we'll check for blood clots. And I'm like, okay, well, what if a blood clot lets loose and I have a fucking stroke or, you know what I mean? Anything, just shut down, So it was paranoia full on through the whole 16 days of just, dude, I was so afraid that I was just going to, I'm a heavy guy, I'm a big guy, used to smoke a ton of cigarettes, used to smoke a shit ton of pot. It's like, dude, what in the hell? I've got all these things lined up. I've had pneumonia 3 times, you know what I mean? So I was really, really worried about it, and then ended up, being not too. They didn't even give me antibiotics or anything because they didn't really know what the hell was going on, So they just said, you're going to be fine. If you have any more problems, come back. I was like, okay. And you're wearing a mask and, you're panicking because you think, okay, I've got this particular strain of it. What if I go to the hospital and I get something else and they're, they got this in the fucking visor and, 3 layers of gloves and, 4 suits on, that type of shit. So it was kind of crazy, man,
I bet.
I was pretty scared. I'm glad Nate made it through that. That's a pretty scary situation. And I know that this version of it now that's around isn't as, extreme, but who knows if it can't change. And my boss came in the other day and he said, do you know that the numbers are 24% right now? He's like 24% of people are sick in the state of Minnesota. Like a week and a half ago, they had like 2,400 or 24, some crazy number of cases, that the state did. And he goes, yeah, did you know they shut us down at like 7%, 7 or 9%? And we're at 24 right now. And I was like, no shit. So crazy that when you look at the numbers of where we shut down at 7, and now we're, we did a show March 25th of this year at the Skyway. 26th, I was at Club Underground, and I started feeling a little meh, you know what I mean? And I was like, could this be COVID? The whole guessing game. Is it a cold? Is it COVID? Is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have a toothache? That type of shit. And I ended up getting sick for 2 weeks right there. And I tested negative, but I was still sick for 2 weeks. And just recently, within the last couple of weeks, my daughter got it, my wife got it, and then I went to go get tested. I was negative, but I had all the symptoms. And then I turned out I had a lung infection, a sinus infection, acute pneumonia. Like they had me on all kinds of antibiotics. Yeah, it was fucking horrible. It was just like, called my boss and go, hey, I know I worked today and I was, around everybody, but my wife booked us an appointment. We all tested and the girls tested positive. What should I do? And he's like, well, call the safety guy. The safety guy goes, well, you can't come in for a week. I go back. There's a guy that has been there for 3 days with COVID. They didn't fucking say shit to him. I was like, this dude's sick. He's got all the signs and you guys didn't make him take the time off. What the fuck, 3rd day he goes in, he's got it. That was it. And then they gave him a couple days off. Then he went into the weekend. They let him back on Monday. What the fuck are you guys doing, man? I got to, it's just insane how it's been, man. We're getting blown up here. Sean Jensen, thank you, dude, for joining. Thank you for the compliment on the show too. I really appreciate that, dude. Your show rocks. Thank you. F the video. My son is like, whoa. You almost said boner. Yeah, I did almost say boner. Oh shit. I've played guitar and bass, and playing bass definitely makes it hang longer. What does that mean?
I think he's talking about his genitalia, Greg.
Oh, yeah, that could be too. Respirator.
Ask for a photo.
Jensen? I don't know if you want to see Jensen's junk. He's probably got things pierced into it. Jensen used to be like this mega pierced cat when we were kids. You know what I mean? Like all the way into his got to be into his mid-20s. He had, the most piercings of anybody that I knew at the time. And that was in, late 80s, early 90s. He was already pierced up like that. So I'm sure his junk's pierced too. So it's probably, a doorknob hanging from it now. You know what I mean? That
Even
big.
more reason we need a photograph, dude.
Just knocking out things. Hey, come on in. Oh, let me zip up my pants real quick. Sorry, it's my own personal door knocker. Yeah. So I mean, with were you able to? We were working the whole time, but I mean, were you able to create through the whole thing? Were you guys still doing your show during the COVID thing? Were you guys doing it remote or anything? How did that?
No, we basically just shut down.
Yeah.
And for safety's sake. And then once things, after, as we're all going, okay, 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, it's been 4 weeks, it's been,
yeah.
But I think, I maybe just out of safety, or I'm not sure. I don't want to put this on Nate. I feel like Nate was a little concerned, especially with his asthma,
right? That
he was a little reluctant to just get out and get into things. I, of course, could be misremembering that, and maybe it was just I didn't want to push him, and so I wasn't like, hey, let's get together. We got shows to do, and people could be listening to podcasts while they're sitting at home doing nothing. We thought we were going to learn languages, and we thought we were going to learn all these new things, and we just sat there and got fat. Yeah. So it didn't quite work out the way everybody was hoping when they thought, boy, if I had the time, I'd get out there, I'd clean that garage, and then 4 weeks later,
having some of the bands on here too. You know what I mean? You think these guys are before COVID hit, they were on it. They were about to record an album, just in general, and then you talk to them and they go, yeah, well, you don't want to get into a room with 5 guys and, possibly send it home with somebody or, send it home with your family and then your kids get it and, and all that shit. But then you hear people that were like, yeah, I needed to play, and we just created and created and created. And I heard a couple bands, some surprised me even. They were like, yeah, we have a full album that we're ready to release when it's time, but we have another album on the burner too that is, so they have 2 albums worth of material, getting ready to release one when regulations kind of loosened up a little bit. And people, releasing their albums in the middle of all of that too, and then having no CD release party, no real accolade, or push towards their iTunes or anything. I mean, you're just doing it online. Like, here, check this out. I feel horrible for people. And I was like, fuck, man, I could be writing, I could be doing all this stuff. And I wasn't, we were ready to go into the studio before I quit, before COVID really hit, you know what I mean? And I just threw my hands up and said, fuck it, I can't do it,
Well, then part of it too was I was still working a full-time job.
Yeah.
So if I had been home and had all that stuff, I would hope that I would have been useful with that time.
Sure.
But I can't guarantee that because at first I'm sure it would have been like, well, okay, I'm going to use this as a vacation time.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to be 2 weeks. Yeah. And, then hopefully after that I would have been, okay, this is going to be longer than 2 weeks. Yeah. So I should do something useful at this time. Yeah. I think I may have used it, whatever time I did have to get it somewhat creative. And that may have been the genesis of some of the evolution of the podcast and the plans that are starting to come into fruition.
Right.
I feel like I'm in a better, actually at the end of last year, I kind of just started to steamroll ahead and just like, okay, I'm going to be like 2 or 3 episodes ahead.
Right.
It's not going to be week after week. Cause then sometimes it's all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I didn't do my homework.
Right.
When you got to go to school and take the test and you didn't study.
Right.
That was me.
And dude, you know what? That's what I really love about your guys' podcast too, is you guys put a lot of thought into what you do. It's not, like my shit, you just come in here and you yammer on about whatever, but you guys really put some time and effort into what you guys do. And I really dug some of the first things that you did where you would go track to track with specific albums, or you would rank the albums, 1 to 5 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I always love the take where you guys weren't always on the same level, you know what I mean? Like, you would say, oh, I really like this about that, and you would break it down, and then Nate would go, yeah, I'm not really feeling that, and then you would kind of poke at him, and like, you'd make fun of each other, like, oh, you really like that one, huh? Nah, I didn't really care for that one. Oh, you're too good for that one, you know what I mean? You guys really put a lot of time into that stuff, and I mean, same with Bill Hansen too. You know what I mean? When I had Bill on there on the podcast, he brought in a whole spreadsheet. He had like everything labeled out and ready to go. When I came on the podcast with you guys, you had, major notes of what we're going to talk about, and all the news stuff that you guys cover too. I always love that shit about what you guys do. Whenever I talk about me being on a podcast, I always say, yeah, DOTW Pod is another metal podcast in town that does a lot of research on things. I've promoted you guys just talking to someone on, saying that like a Deep Purple conversation would come up, and I'll go, oh man, Gene Vogel, Nate Matanich, those guys cover a lot of that stuff. They, and Overkill's one of your guys' mutual bands that you guys both love a lot. So it will come up sometimes, and I'll always refer people to your guys' podcast because I really dig the format and how you guys lay it out. I love the fact that you started doing time frames of what was popular at that time, going through those, the top albums of that year, or top songs of that year.
Oh wait, are you talking about Time Travel Radio?
Yes.
Yes. Well, actually, no, those aren't the top songs. I hand select every song that's on there.
Okay.
I go through. I'm using Wikipedia because that's the only source I found with a good amount of information.
Yeah.
It's not always the best. It's not always accurate, as we all know, but there's still plenty of use for Wikipedia. And I wanted to do this especially the podcast is actually what kind of got me into some of those older bands,
right,
and picking up and filling in gaps. There's from the 60s to today, there's so much music out there. You can't always catch it all, you know?
Yep.
And usually it's your friends, but as we get older, our friend group is more social online. We're keeping tabs with each other on social media, or we go to a show and we catch up, but maybe you're not hearing so much about that. So the idea would be, what have I missed? And I thought, well, I need to start somewhere. Where am I going to start? Do I pick an album? And all of a sudden I know where Black Sabbath's first album. I'm like, okay, the birth of heavy metal. Some would disagree with that, but that's where.
Yeah, fuck them. What do they know?
That's where we're going to put it. And as we know, Coven wasn't that.
Yeah.
Nate and I went through that album. It's garbage. It's not the birth of heavy metal. Yes, they had satanic lyrics and satanic themes, but it was Jefferson Airplane with satanic lyrics. It was not the birth of heavy metal.
Right.
Anybody who says that is on drugs,
right, or
part of their cult.
Yeah.
So Black Sabbath, ground zero, heavy metal. So that's what I did is I picked that year and then I went through and listened to a bunch of bands and turned myself on to a bunch of bands. And some of it, was just, okay, I've heard this before, but I want this or I want that.
Right.
And then I'd build roughly, I think it's like 3 hours of music. It's mostly music. I'll go through and I'll share what stuff that was happening that year.
Right.
And in regards to politics and pop.
I dug
culture.
it, dude. I really dug it. I think it's, dude, you put a lot of time into that shit.
Yes, that one takes a little more time. But I also realized that as soon as I finish the one, I can start the next one. Even though I'm putting the pieces together, I can still be during downtimes where I don't need to listen to stuff per se. I could at least be culling through lists of what was released in 1973 and what do I want to focus on? What bands have I heard come up in conversation? Sometimes it's just hovering over the link on Wikipedia going, what is this band? What's Atomic Rooster?
Yeah.
And hover over it. It's an Australian rock and roll band. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Holy crap, these guys sound like the Rolling Stones. How have I not heard of Atomic Rooster before?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. It's turned me on to a bunch of stuff where I start buying more material.
This isn't that. Is that the group that fucking Brian Johnson used to sing in?
No.
Now, have you heard him sing?
Yes.
I saw a video of him singing.
That was in Scotland, I think, wasn't it?
I was like, holy shit, man. He actually has a good voice. I was like, wow. And then you hear him, you know what I mean?
And he's got some dance moves, too.
Yeah.
That video is a little uncomfortable for me. But see, I haven't gotten that far yet in history.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned because I'm into 73. I'm currently putting together 1973. Now that I'm done with the independent music special for April, part 2. I had to break it up into 2 because we have so much music coming in. I had to break it into 2 episodes. The first one that I just released today is North America, which basically is USA and Canada because I didn't have anything from Mexico, and then the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And that one's, I forget how, that one's like maybe 2 hours of mostly music and me just kind of chiming in, talking about the bands, and then playing the music from the stuff that's been submitted.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to get hardcore into, I've got the songs already picked. I just need to put all the stuff into place. And then 1973 will be coming out.
I remember when you started, letting people know they can send in their material and you're like, yeah, man, I've got so much stuff to go through and there's so many things that I want to throw on there. I remember you were back cataloged years ago. So you have to be just swamped by now.
Well, that's part of the reason I came up with the independent music special for the new releases.
Yeah.
Because I had such a huge backlog.
Yeah.
That I wasn't doing my due diligence to keeping people up to date with what was coming out.
Right.
Now it was, okay, who's next on my list? Meanwhile, here's 2019 and I'm still working through 2017 stuff. And some of it I jettisoned because it was like, okay, the sound's not that great, or the band, oh boy, this is uncomfortable.
Right.
I'm not going to play this.
Right.
So I definitely was able to get more selective.
Sure.
But even still, the quality of stuff that was coming in from these independent bands, it just was like, okay, we're going to play two per episode. And then we started to experiment with our episode format.
Yeah.
So then I'm only doing 2 a month. And now the catalog is growing. Meanwhile, I'm not servicing the independent bands.
Right.
And I have no idea why I didn't think of this sooner. But at the beginning of the year, I'm like, how am I going to I got to do something with all this independent music. Should I do just a special? And then also I'm like, wait a minute. I'm looking at all the release dates. I'm like, that's the answer. Do it once they come out. Hand select a song from each band that released that material.
Right.
Put it in an episode. Promote those bands. And then just do that. It's a super easy.
Yeah.
It's super easy to put together. The longest part is not even the editing. It's just listening to the material.
Yeah.
And then
sorting through it
and picking a song. And sometimes it's just a single, and that makes life easy. But it sucks too, because sometimes bands
send you 3 or 4.
What this is our best song. Because everybody usually top loads.
Yeah.
When you go through, especially in independent bands.
Yep.
If it's not in the first 3, sometimes you get to song 4 and you go, okay, now I feel it. This is where either they ran out of material or they're phoning it in, and then tracks 5 through 10 are just garbage. So I can usually breeze through those pretty quick.
Yeah.
But there are bands that don't have that, or they'll think song number 10, that's okay. We'll put that at number 10.
Yeah.
And I'll get to song number 10 and go, holy crap. This is the one I'm playing.
Right.
And that's that's part of my joy is like
finding the one that
connects to me. And I'm hoping it'll connect to a broader audience as well. But it has to spark me first.
Dude, that's how I feel about radio material in general. You know what I mean? Like you hear, like say there's a band, there hasn't been one in a good long while for me. If I've turned on 93X or, you know what I mean? Just the celestial radio in general. Like there hasn't been anything that's really jumped out at me recently that I can think of. But my favorite thing is that when you do hear a song that gets overplayed multiple times and you kind of catch it, you're like, that's not a horrible tune. I could probably stomach that. And then you maybe download the album just to listen to it. Okay, I like that one song. And then you get to track 7 or 8 and you're like, wow, why did they not make this song the one they released? You know what I'm saying? And then you hear that one song that they continue to murder to death. You know what I mean? They're just playing it to death. And you're just like, track 7, 8, what are you doing? Why are not playing these fucking songs? They're not in the format of 2 to 3 minutes long. They're, you know what I mean? And that's
and that's not what the radio station's pushing or the record label's pushing. Yeah. So
I don't even think it's the record labels anymore because of the whole payola shit that happened way back in the day. You know what I mean? Where labels were paying people.
Well, they're releasing singles. That's what their push is.
Yeah,
it's play the single.
Yeah. It just seems weird to me how there's no. To me, it seems now this happened. I want to say 98 to like 2004, okay, where they started moving towards more automated parts of radio. You know what I'm saying? Where it really they just dumped the whole cup of water on it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, Godsmack, Disturbed, you know, Metallica, you know, the handful of bands, and they would just play those fucking 12 songs, and then they would get 6 months down the road, they throw that in, so now there's 12 songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just cycles through this nonsense for so long. Those DJs back in the day would actually dig the shit, and they would play it. You know, like back then, 98 to 2004, I felt like there was a block there that the program directors and like the main production people in the radio station were like, okay, we're moving towards this automated thing, right? So don't deviate from that plan at all. Don't find anything cool that really the listeners want to fucking hear, you know. Oh, you know, Overkill released this album 2 years ago, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, dude. It's right. It just blows me away that we get away from all of that. Jared Singer Extravaganza is up in the piece. Thank you for joining us, dude. What up, fuckers? We are live streaming over here. Me and Zach Boyd. Zach, thank you for joining us with Mr. Jared there. Go check out Jared Singer Extravaganza if you guys get a chance. He is also on YouTube, and one of the reasons why I am on YouTube too. I've been doing this podcast for a long time, but Jared is one of the guys who kind of fished me right into the video thing and kind of showed me the cool things that you could do here on the YouTube. So thank you, Jared, and thanks for joining us. Appreciate it very much. Yeah, dude. So it's crazy. I love what you were doing and switching it up with the different formats and the different things. I love that you guys continue to grow, and it's not the same episode every single time with different stuff in it. I love the fact that you got creative with it. I really think that it, you know, shows the your dynamic of putting the show together. And it's not, like I said, you guys put a lot of time into the show. And I dig it. I think it's cool. I've always, you know, I've kind of pulled away from listening to podcasts for a little while. I don't think I've really been a diligent for almost a year. You know what I mean? I just kind of backed off a little bit, you know, trying to keep my own thing together, you know.
I've done the same thing where I've tried to get more music into my daily routine and not be so podcast centric.
Yeah.
And I think I've kind of looped back into being more podcasts, listening to more podcasts. And it's a double-edged sword there, because there's times where it's like, I don't want to steal anybody's ideas or even have anybody accuse me of taking their ideas. Because a lot of stuff I'm thinking about it, like, what can we do? What can I do next? Or what can I do something that hasn't been done? Yeah. I don't want to borrow somebody else's idea. Now, I would hope if I listened to some of their podcasts and didn't realize it, that eventually I'd realize it, or they could even call me out and go, holy crap, yeah, you're right. I did hear that on Joe Schmo's podcast or whatever. But if it's a podcast I enjoy, I tend to listen to it more.
I was this close to stealing one of your guys' ideas from back. We were doing a podcast, or we were doing something, and you grabbed another musician that was close to us and pulled them outside, and we're like, if you were stranded on an island, what would be your favorite, you know, the album you would take with you? And I was at some show, and I was like, I'm totally pulling out my phone and asking this dude this. I can't do that. I was like, where did I get that? Oh, Gene did it. I remember Gene doing that shit.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's funny you mentioned that, because that's one of those that I've been meaning to bring back, is how can I incorporate that? And I've got an idea. I won't get into the idea yet, but I think I'm going to figure a way to bring that back to the episodes in some fashion. I'm still fleshing out to see if I can maybe expand on it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But that's kind of what I did with the One Mother of a Cover.
Yeah.
Is that used to be a segment on our regular show when we were just kind of doing cookie cutter type of episodes.
Sure.
I know that sounds like I'm demeaning that what we were doing, or that was lesser of some fashion. It's just, we've expanded beyond that, but we still have that format.
Yeah.
That's what we call our A episode.
Yeah.
When we're going to do an A episode, we have a formula that we're going to go through, and then we have a talker at the end, and Nate usually picks the last track that we go out with. One Mother of a Cover was one that I was like, how can I bring this back to the episodes?
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't know if it's going to really fit in that format anymore, because unless we're going to change the talker at the end and just make it that. But then it's like, is that real? That's not really a good thing. I didn't feel like it was a good thing to go out on. It's good to go out on a song. I like that with our main episode, but it just didn't feel like I wanted to shoehorn that in or introduce and stretch out the episodes longer.
Sure.
And so I just came up with the idea to make it its own damn episode.
Right.
But instead of just playing the cover, I play the original.
Yeah.
Or and I'm even considering playing multiple covers depending on the song. You know, 'cause some of them have been covered very well by multiple artists.
Right.
And the funny thing is that the starting point on that one was the Mighty Black Sabbath yet again.
Yeah.
The song "The Warning" off of their first album is a cover song.
Oh, really?
From Ainsley Dunbar's "Retaliation." That's an Ainsley Dunbar song that Black Sabbath covered for their first album.
Wow.
I had no idea until I was doing research for a different podcast, Cobras and Fire podcast. Some friends of mine, Baco out in St. Paul, he's got his co-host out in Denver.
Oh, wow.
So they do the remote thing too. And we were doing basically going through Black Sabbath's entire discography.
Yeah.
We were going to record we recorded 3 episodes in one night. So it was a long night. But I get into album 1, and I'm looking at the credits. I'm like, Ainsley Dunbar? I'm like, well, who the hell is that?
Right.
He was never in Black Sabbath.
Right.
I'd never heard this guy before. Of course, do your research. Ainsley Dunbar is a beast.
Yeah.
He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Journey.
Oh.
And he's been tied in with so many other bands,
Right.
even Black Sabbath.
No shit.
Yeah, I think he was he did a tour. I don't think studio stuff, but I could be wrong on that. I didn't really dig that deep in Ainsley Dunbar. I don't want to sound like an Ainsley Dunbar historian, but he wrote that song.
Yeah.
And Sabbath covered it, and I loved the Sabbath version.
Yeah.
So I thought, there it is. I'm going to play the song that I hadn't heard until I realized it was a cover.
Yeah.
That's when I looked it up on YouTube. I found it. I'm like, this is pretty cool too.
Yeah.
I prefer Sabbath's version, but I can't believe more people don't know about this. I didn't know about it, but
Right.
that's my fault.
Yeah.
But I've never heard anybody talk about
Sure.
Sabbath in their covers.
Yeah.
They covered Crow, Minneapolis' own Crow.
Right.
Evil Woman. It was a B-side, but I think it may have been on the American release of their first album, because if you look at the tracks, when those albums first came out, the UK version was different than the American version.
Oh, okay.
So there's a
lot of bands that do that shit.
Well, yeah, and maybe it's record labels. I know Japan usually gets bonus tracks, and they still get their bonus tracks to this day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ainsley Dunbar "Retaliation." I thought that's a killer song. I do not like Sabbath's cover of Crow's "Evil Woman," though. I would prefer to hear Crow's "Evil Woman" over Sabbath's cover.
No shit. I'll have to listen to that. I've never heard that.
But there is, I got the episode. It's I couldn't tell you. That's like 170 or 180
Starts
something.
to run together a little bit.
It's in the 180s, somewhere in there that I did that. And they're actually nice short episodes too.
Yeah.
So I talk a little bit about the history of the original, play the original, then I talk about the cover that I'm going to play, and then to play the cover. So that way people can hear both versions. So I expanded a little bit, but it's still a nice bite-sized episode.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants, I got a 20-minute drive. There's a 20-minute podcast.
Nice.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
It fits right in. Or you can even, stack a bunch of those together if you save them.
Yeah.
I got another one coming out too this month. But I'm not gonna.
Okay, don't blow it.
I won't.
Just make sure they know where to go to get it though.
DOTWPOD.com, and we're all over the place, man. We've got Apple. We're finally on Apple.
Nice.
I know back when Nate and I were on when you were in the old location, we weren't on Apple yet.
Yeah.
Finally got that taken care of.
Yeah.
We're on a bunch of them, and there's a few others that are trying to compete, I think, with Stitcher, and they're trying to compete with Apple, and they're trying to compete with Amazon. Amazon's got Audible and Amazon. We're on both of those.
Nice.
And we've been pulled into some of these other podcast aggregators that are trying to be a source for podcast information.
Yeah, yeah. Are you on iHeartRadio yet? Dude, I Googled. I'm like, what other, Googled the name and whatever. I'm like, iHeartRadio. Where the fuck did I get submitted to that? Podbean. There's like a fucking handful of them that I'd never submitted my shit to, but they're signed up for my RSS feed, and every time I drop one, it pops over. Maybe it's from Libsyn. Maybe it's from where I host too. So
yeah, Libsyn's I think pretty good. We use WordPress for ours, but we basically, it's not because it's because it's a podcast format or a good site for podcast hosting.
Yeah.
I just found it to be cheap, and I
Yeah.
found a way to make it work. And if I had to replicate that, I don't know if I could do it.
Right.
But that's there, because actually I was contemplating creating an overkill podcast, and I thought, well, how did I do this in the first place?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, do I want to do that and then start to branch off into 2 separate podcasts? I decided I'm just going to make that part of the Disciples of the Watch family, and I came up with a Killcast. I've only done 1 episode. I actually called it episode 0 because I had the idea and I thought, I need to lock this down. I need to start going.
Right.
And I posted it, and I didn't realize how many people were listening to that one. I thought it probably didn't get
Might
much
slide
traction.
by or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it, and then it's like, okay, now I should start thinking what I'm going to do for the next one, and then I kind of lost track of it. But when I was doing that audit of all the podcasts, I was like,
Holy shit.
wow, that actually people were digging that or downloading that one. Okay, well, I better get back to Killcast and get actually episode 1 out.
Yeah.
What's happening on the chat?
Oh, nothing. It's here's the thing is there's a delay. So it's like we'll say something and then people respond to it, and then you're like, shit, I missed that.
Oh, yes, I understand.
And Crystal's she's just hitting with us. Me and let me see here. You said sing. Yup. I like him. She said she likes you. He is super awesome. I'll take it.
Hey, there you are.
Blow it. LOL. That's it. That's all that's there. They're chiming in, and I appreciate you very much. I'm not discounting what you're saying, Crystal.
Where are you seeing the chat? I forgot.
It's just right there.
I know it's on the monitor, silly. I'm saying is where.
Oh, this is all on YouTube.
Oh, the YouTube.
Yep.
Okay.
It's actually going through the Restream. Another thing that Jared Singer turned me on to is the Restream. You can Restream directly to Restream, right? And then it shoots it out to as many different spots as you want it to go to.
Nice.
So like right now we should be on Facebook, but I think I'm probably banned again for some stupid ridiculousness. And they're getting smart too. So like before they would just, say, hey, you're not going to be able to post anything. So then I would post something and it would be way down in somebody's feed. They would never see it, anything like that. They would get me in trouble that way. Or they would go, you get 3 days or you get 30 days or whatever. Then they started shuffling all of my flyers of, because I try to keep them in chronological order for months. You know what I mean? Like what's going on in September? I don't know. We'll go here to Ritual Madness Podcast, look at it, and you'll see a handful of shows there. Well, they started getting smart. They just shuffled all my shit. So then I'm like, wait a second, July is in September, September's in July, they fuck everything up. So once they stopped doing that, I took time because I was doing it once in the morning, once at night. And I would just make sure that your fucking feed would be filled with music flyers and whatnot, So they were like, yeah, you can't be doing that. You got to pay us to promote, Okay, fine, whatever. So then they started going back to like 2016 and finding a dick and fart joke that I sent to my buddy, and then they would kick me off for 3 days. They're smart to the point now where they know that I go live on their site, so they just muted me. They just booted me off. So I was gone for 30 days. I didn't realize I was on here, and all of a sudden I go back to my page, and there's a video of the stream. You know what I mean? It goes to Twitter, it goes to Facebook, and then it goes to YouTube all with one Restream.
Nice.
So it just goes, but it's like, say, I can only stream to Facebook on my own personal account. I can't do it to my Ritual Madness Podcast account, which really sucks. And when I first started doing Restream, you could take a code and put it into your website. So then you would just have a fucking window that would have your stream going on.
Oh, nice.
That lasted about a month, and then they switched their things, and now you gotta sign up for their programs for it now.
Oh. So
I think eventually they're basically gonna go down to you're gonna have to be a part of a subscription thing with them. I've got a subscription set from Zoom or with Zoom since 2020. During the COVID thing, because I was like, okay, I want to be able to do this remotely. How can I get it? How can I do it? And I've still been paying for it. I haven't used it in probably 3 months, but I still keep it just in case. Like I'm trying to lock down Jack Koshik. I don't know if you know Jack Koshik or not. He used to be the guy who put the Milwaukee Metal Fest together for many years.
Nice.
But he also had his hand in a lot of the old wrestlers like AWA,
really?
the original
Yeah.
beginning of WWF. Like he managed some wrestlers. I think he had Mad Dog Vachon at one time. I know that I think he had Baron von Raschke at one time. And he had a handful of guys. Dude, he used to manage Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, Jesus.
Justin Diamond. Yeah. So,
Rest in peace.
and I didn't know any of this stuff until the very last time that we played the Metal Fest in like 2004. And it was like one of the last ones. I think he only did maybe one or two after that. But this is the time where I had known him since I was a kid, and he hated me because I was, big fucking dopey goon. You know what I mean? And
now you're older.
Now I'm an older dopey goon.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I ran into him in Milwaukee at one of Randy Kastner's events, and he remembered me, and we talked, and I was like, I just want to say it was a privilege working with you. I know that you're out of the game for many years now, but when you're coming up as a kid and you're into the tape trading and you're into, just this lifestyle of this underground music, he was the pinnacle of what we were doing in the Midwest. I mean, so many bands played there. Morbid Angel, Pestilence. I mean, dude, Death. I seen Death. Him put a Death show on. Corner, Forest Entry, dude.
Chuck Schaldina's birthday today.
Dude,
too.
What's that?
Chuck Schaldina's birthday.
Oh,
today,
nice.
by
Oh,
the
yeah,
way.
that's right. 55 today.
Oh shit. Was it 54?
54 or 55. I thought I saw something like that today
Yeah.
on somebody's page. But I'm trying to lock him down on a date. But
Nice.
the thing is that he's an older guy, doesn't have a lot of technology. I asked him, hey, are you familiar with Zoom? He said, no, but I have a friend that helped me with another interview, so I would be willing to have him come over and help me.
Sweet.
So that's really cool. And I really want to sit down with him because he has so many connections back to the scene that I started in with Decker too, because he used to work with Decker back in the day. And Decker would be on tour with Anal Blast, and he would bring bands to come back, and he would pick us local bands to pick the bill for the guys that are coming from out of town. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you're paying to play on those things, but you're selling tickets to get your money back. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of, he's just an icon, and I really, really want to interview that guy. And it's like, you know how it goes, man. I just really want to fucking interview the dude. I really, really do. I really want to pick his brain and some of them old wrestlers and shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's what really sparked me. I was listening to something, and they were talking about old wrestlers, and I was like, holy shit, Jack Koshik. I was like, that dude has been around forever, and he's not getting any younger. You know what I'm saying? We're not getting any younger. Yeah. And I'm like, I hit him up today. I was driving, and I just go, hey man, would you be willing to sit down with me and do a podcast with me? He's like, absolutely. And I was like, let's figure this out. So I'm going to get him on a Saturday sometime, and
Is he still out that way?
Yeah, he's in Milwaukee. He's got his own little thing, and I stayed in his penthouse one time. It was the first time I'd ever been into a place that had like the security, liaison guy that calls you up and goes, hey, this guy's down here in the lobby for you. You want me to send him up or not? That type of thing. And I went there with Decker, and he had two people in the van that slept in the van because he had all his gear in the van plus all of his distro, right? So they slept in the van, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, we're sleeping in Jack's house. So I go upstairs. Jack's already asleep. Decker phones the sound guy. The sound guy comes down, lets us in. I end up partying with the sound guy till the sun came up. But it was just like, Jack comes out, and I'm sleeping on his couch, the guy that he didn't really care for, when I was younger, comes out, and he's like, Don, who the fuck is that? And why is he sleeping on my couch? You know what I mean? And it was awkward, but I tried to sleep with his daughter, and you know what I mean?
That would make it even more awkward.
Yeah, I was a prick to him, but
sounds like it.
Decker the Pecker, she says. Yeah, I think people called him that at one point. Or several other things, actually, but
it rhymes. You kind of have to go with it.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah. So, what else is new, man? What else is you got some new work? You showed up snazzy. You got out of the construction business.
Yes.
You look like you're thriving, man. You look happy. You look healthy. You look good, man.
Well, thank you. I've put on a few pounds, so I'm not at my best right now.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it. I'm getting out of construction. That's the thing. I knew it. I knew getting out of construction is like, I got to make sure that I keep active in some fashion because, and I was doing the intermittent fasting for a while, but my new job it wasn't really jiving with me for some reason with that.
Yeah.
It may have been out of boredom, just sitting at a desk. There's times where I'm sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
But that's not all the time. There's sometimes where I'm as busy as hell and I'm running to multiple locations.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what the day dictates. Sometimes it's planned, and sometimes I'm running around putting out fires, so to speak.
Literally.
Or almost literally. Yes, today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't dress up this much. I threw the coat on just for you though.
Oh, woo! Look at that.
I decided after I got off from work, I'm like, I'm not going to go throw on my band shirt or whatever I'm going to throw on. I'm just going to keep in my work clothes for the day. Of course, I could have been in casual. It's casual Fridays. I could throw jeans on and such. But I don't know. It's like I've got all these pants that I used to not wear a lot, other than funerals and weddings and occasional, going outs and getting together where you have to dress up.
Yeah.
So I just kind of kept doing it every Friday. I've been like, I can wear jeans on the weekend. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to still, dress up a little bit. I don't have to wear a tie or anything like that. It's basically this without, like I said, without the coat.
Right.
And I thought, I can't dress down for Greg, man. So I dressed up. I grabbed the coat. I was literally about to head out the door, and I thought, wait a minute, I got that sport coat.
That's awesome.
I'm going to throw on a sport coat. And
you're so full of beans, dude. That's awesome.
I'm serious, man. This I wanted to mark the occasion.
Woo!
It's been, God, dude.
It's
how
now
long has it been?
documented now.
The last time we got together, I think, was that when we had Bill on? When you had Bill on, I should say, and I kind of guested with you.
I believe so. Yeah.
Bill. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name?
Bill
Metal
Gelberg.
Soda.
Yeah,
Yes,
Bill
thank
Gelberg.
you.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. So I think that's the last time we did anything, or was Nate and I after that? I don't remember. It's been so long, but definitely old location. This is brand new to me.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to checking out the place, and you got a nice space here.
Thanks, man. Thanks. It's different, you know what I mean? It's a different building, a different kind of vibe here, It's kind of cool because again, like the other building, it's a business spot, there's shit going on, hustle and bustle during the day. They've got a glass company upstairs. The guy owns the building and multiple different businesses in here. So it's like in the evenings, nobody's here. You can kind of unwind a little bit, I don't think at the other spot, a lot of people would come and they would drink and they would hang out and people would pass out, or, you know what I mean? There'd been some shenanigans that's gone on over there.
I bet.
Here, I haven't really pushed the envelope too much. I don't want to, something gets busted up here. I'd be in some good trouble if something happened here.
Yeah. You don't want to mess up a good thing.
No, man. And I'm damn lucky that I found the spot anyway. It was a weird story, but it turned out to be a guy that I grew up with since we were teenagers. I think I met him at 12 or 13, and I met his sister-in-law online. She was selling a sewing machine, and her son works for one of the auction companies, K-Bid or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
So he had it, and and it was during COVID. I was doing the tie-dye thing, and I wanted to do some creations or whatever, and I was like, fuck, I could use a sewing machine. It was fairly cheap. I asked the lady, and she kept saying, how do you know so-and-so? How do you know so-and-so? And I was like, why does this lady keep asking me how I know this dude? I'm like, I just kept talking to her about the sewing machine. And then I go, why do you keep asking about him? She's like, oh, that's my brother-in-law. Would you mind meeting my son for this thing? I said, sure. Yeah, whatever. And I bought the sewing machine. Said, hey, I know your uncle. I probably met you when you were this big. You know what I mean? I know your dad. I'd been to hit your dad's house a few times. He's like, oh, that's just crazy. Whatever. So I'm looking for a place. The lady over there tells me she's basically tired of my shit, parties and you know what I mean? Like she would probably open the trash can and see a bag full of, beer bottles and whatnot. Dude, we had some parties over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some of you got it on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Tracy, so speaking of Tracy of Promodol.
Yep. Him and Boots passing out. Yeah. Somebody graffitied the wall.
Oh, really?
In the bathroom.
Well,
and I didn't notice it. I was, on the throne and I'm looking at it and going, somebody wrote their name on the wall? I'm like, what the fuck? So I wiped right off, but I was still like, why the hell would you do that? Like I'm not going to figure it out. You know what I mean? But yeah, she just basically said, it's time to go. So I said, okay, cool. I started looking for a spot, stumbled upon this one, and I send what I thought was a guy, hey, can I come look at this spot? The lady goes, hey, I just sold you a sewing machine. And I go, what? Yeah, well, it's my son's renting this place out. Why don't you come and check it out? And I came in here, and it's a weird spot, dude. It's just kind of crazy. I couldn't believe that I walked in and he was like, yeah, sure, man. My family. It's all good.
Nice.
Like, I trust you, no big deal. And he's had, you know what I mean? I'm his eyes and ears at the place. You know what I mean? He's like, so what's going on there? Did they turn the heat down when they were supposed to? You know what I mean? I came in there the other day and the air conditioning was freezing in there. You can't let them do that. Make sure the lights are off too. That type of shit. So he uses me as much as I enjoy the building. I still I'm the landlord. It's funny, man. Whatever.
Security.
Yeah. Security guy. Yeah. I'm good at that shit. Good. Yep, same old shit, man. I'm just happy to have you here, man. I'm happy that you're able to do the show and join me and all that good stuff. I'm glad that you're thriving. You're into a new business. You're doing some things, and glad that the podcast is still going, dude. I like I said, I've always been a fan of your podcast and what you guys do, and it was nice to have Nate on here,
Yeah, that was awesome.
When he moved to Colorado, we talked about doing a tie-dye for him, and I ended up sending it out there. I didn't even realize he was leaving. I think I found out maybe on your show, or I can't remember how I found out. I don't remember. There was something that all of a sudden he was just packing up and he was gone.
Yeah, it was fairly cool. Well, he did 2 weeks there just to basically go see if he wanted to move. Do the job.
Yeah.
It was a promotion from the company he was working at here in the cities.
Yeah.
And he went out there and thought, yep, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And he sold his house, picked everything up, and then zoom, he was gone.
Yeah.
And
so crazy,
started
man.
a whole new life there. He loves it out there too, man.
Yeah.
Some of those pictures he posts, he goes out on rides or they go out on a hike, and it's like, boy, I might have to move to Denver.
But they were into that stuff before, them guys kayaking all the time and bike riding and doing their thing. And you know what I mean? The yoga studio. And I mean, it's gotta be just, it seemed like his wife was, really, I think they both really could have used the change of scenery. You know what I mean?
And it's beautiful out there. I mean, not that we don't have beauty here in Minnesota.
Right.
It's because it's completely different type of beauty. Here we got the trees and just so much. Go to the North Shore and it's so beautiful up there. But it's just a little bit different, and it fits him very well, especially being a bike rider and wanting to get on the bike a little bit more.
Yeah. But I mean, being so connected with the folks here and all the riders that he hung out with here, that really surprised me the most, because I know he was so with those guys. You know what I mean? They were so tight.
Part of that, I think, was COVID, was because it was the hustle and bustle of life. It was the 9 to 5. It was the kids got to go to the soccer game, then they got to go to the baseball game, and then they got to go to dance, and then they got to go to jujitsu, and then so it's your constant run, and all of a sudden COVID just slams the door shut.
Yeah,
everybody stops, takes a breath, and then you got to start to reevaluate.
Yeah,
am I happy in my job?
Yeah.
Am I happy in my life? Am I happy? And
in the scenery,
that was part of, I think, him.
Yeah.
And he's a spiritual guy. He's the one that taught me meditation.
Right.
And that was a funny thing too, is we weren't like really tight growing up, or I shouldn't say growing up, because it was
You guys were kind of in the same circle, weren't you? Like, you hung out with some of the same people?
Yes, but it was a very small circle. It was basically pivoted around my best friend at the time, his younger brother. And that's how I got tied in with Nate.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like when I'd hang out with the younger brother, sometimes Nate would be around.
Yeah.
And then Nate and I became better friends. And there's a few times we hung out together. And then it was completely, everybody gets older, everybody moves away.
Yeah.
You start working jobs, or you go to school, whatever.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, on MySpace, I get a message from Nate Matanich.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I remember Nate.
Yeah.
And he reaches out and we reconnect. And then he invites me to this ceremony. It was a graduation party.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a ceremony. So here I'm thinking, graduation party, he's going to be a yogi and teach yoga, traditional yoga.
Yep.
Not, LA Fitness yoga.
Yeah.
But both still, not that I want to crap on that because it's still a very
Oh,
valid
you're gonna have some
music
pissed
thing.
off yogis if you do that, dude. You don't want none of that.
So my wife and I go there, and we're thinking, it's an open house. You arrive, you throw a congratulation card on the pile type of thing.
Yeah.
You schmooze with a few people. Oh, hey, how do you know Nate? How do you know Nate? All right. Well, yeah, we, what do you say we go do some shopping? We're already in St. Paul.
Right.
Let's hit a few stores or whatever. We walk in like 5 minutes late, not late because we're thinking open house, but we walk in 5 minutes and people are chanting and there's stuff going on and it's a ceremony.
Right.
And it's a whole communal thing. And we get in there and it was just like, just that energy was cool. It's like, I don't want to go down that path of lifestyle,
Sure.
but that energy connected with me in a fashion.
Yeah.
And so I started working with him on, they would do the, was it
Mantras.
well, mantras before the meditation, but the satsangs on Fridays, it was like an hour-long session.
Okay.
So there's a little discussion, some going through the mantra, and then roughly an hour of solid meditation.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
But it was like
So basically what you're saying is a nap.
you try not to fall asleep.
It's so hard not to, man.
But it's just that struggle of shutting down your mind. And I'm like a lot of those people. I'm like, well, I can't do that. My mind's always, going.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to bed and it's like, as soon as you want to lay down, your mind's going, tomorrow, this. And you're there for another half hour to however long trying to shut that down so you can actually get some rest.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that, but it was kind of sporadic.
Yeah.
Because it's an hour, and that does become difficult.
Yeah.
For me, it'd be maybe better to work up to it. Long story short, I started taking his actual class, looking at different methods that they teach and stuff. And I still meditate to this day. I have a different program that I work with, but I use that same mantra. And the funny thing is I was working at a job site. The designer and the homeowner are being loud and obnoxious, and I'm trying to get this thing done, and they are being very loud and obnoxious. And my anger was rising. It was like Minnesota behind the wheel anger type of situation going. Yes, where I could almost feel myself getting ready to lash out.
Wow.
And I'm like, I got to shut this down. I immediately stopped what I was doing, walked out of the house. And I just kind of sat out there for a minute. So I quick messaged Nate. I'm like, Nate, here's the situation I'm in. What can I do, with stuff that I'm learning through meditation? Give me something. He's like, never thought about that. So he reaches out to his yogi, or I forget, maybe I'm using that terminology wrong in regards to their relationship.
Sure.
I don't want to say master, but the woman who trained him.
Sure.
So he reaches out to her. I think I'm remembering that correctly. Maybe, I think it's the lady I'm thinking of. At any rate, and she's like, she messages him back and she says, you already have the tools. Your mantra. Repeat your mantra. So he messages that back to me. So I stop working again and I go outside, take a few breaths, start repeating the mantra. And it was like I could just feel it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like gone, but I went from here to here.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap. Because I've been working with this for a couple years now,
Yep.
and I've been using this mantra on a fairly regular basis. And I was like, whoosh, and I'm like, holy crap,
That was it. That was able to slow you down a little bit.
Wizardry, yeah. So then I could go back in there,
Wizardry,
and just kind of and got through my day and got through the situation. So it's a tool that I still use outside of a meditation.
Yeah.
If I'm at work and I'm just feeling like, oh boy, I really want to tell this person how I feel or whatever it might be. Just think of my mantra and just right there. I did it in my head and I could just feel like, okay, calm down, G.
Yeah, it's good. That's fucking awesome.
So it's a super huge tool. Then years later, I'm listening to Adam Carolla's show. And I'm listening to Joe Rogan's eventually in his
there you go.
early
You're
years.
canceled again. Yep. Go ahead.
We're off the air. And I'm like, I really want to do something music based. And I was listening to another one, Talking Metal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they got a good show, but I want to do something different. I don't want to do exactly what they're doing. So that's probably part of the reason we didn't start doing interviews right away. We just have guests come on and we'd hang out and shoot the shit, do our show.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want to do it with somebody. Part of it is I need a taskmaster, I think. And I'm actually, I don't even know if I should say this out loud, but I'm contemplating going to jiu-jitsu to try something different.
Yeah.
Again, I need exercise.
Yeah.
I'm working out. I'm doing at least like 5 days a week. I'm trying to do some form of exercise, or
Sure.
I'll do stretching, because there are times where I'll get up and I'll be like, oh my God, my body's beat up, and I'm just going to stretch.
From all the
today.
years of construction and shit.
Yeah, that
tile and all that.
and just getting old, man. So
Yeah.
I'm contemplating doing that just as a new master, something
Sure.
to give me a focus, something to especially to become active in. I'm not sure if that's really my path, but it's something that's on my mind.
Sure.
But anyhow, back to the podcast beginnings. Nate and I post on Facebook. I'm like, there's got to be a bunch of people that want to do this too, right?
Yeah.
So I post on Facebook. I'm like, I want to start a podcast. Who wants to do it? And it's crickets. And Nate and I, we maintained that relationship throughout those years from MySpace over to Facebook and everything. And, still getting together for meditations and whatnot, and occasional social interactions.
Sure.
And he was the first and only person that reached out to me and said, I'll do it. Having never heard a podcast, he wanted to do a podcast.
Man. That's fucking awesome. I dig that. That's
and here we are
fantastic.
from 2014 to 2022 and still going and
200
growing.
and what'd you say? 202?
202 will be tomorrow. Yeah.
Fantastic, man.
And more to come. And we're going to be we got to get back to the interviews. We started to dabble in it. We did the one with Tracy in 2014, our first one. We were thinking, okay, let's start doing this.
Sure.
But then it was just easier for us to schedule between the two of us.
Well, then you're throwing a third person or whatever into it, and that's
third or fourth.
Yeah.
And now you got to juggle all these schedules. And
That's
we kind of just thought, okay, let's not worry about that now.
Yeah.
So we just keep rolling on with our show. Then we
Right.
start to evolve our show. And then it's like, we should get back to the interviews.
right.
2020, we start doing the interviews. We get Rob, we get
Well,
Alan.
dude, I like how
Shut
you're
it
doing it though. I mean, you never really let any of the good ideas go away for too long. You kind of incorporate it back in. You've said it a couple times with different things that you've liked to do, or incorporate in, or new things that you're doing. I like the fact that you're continually pulling them back in. That's cool shit.
Yeah,
That's
and
good
there's
shit.
I don't know. I really don't want to listen to old episodes, but I want to see if I can go through old notes and see if there's maybe a few other ideas that didn't really get fully fleshed out,
Sure.
or that were a seed of an idea that just
Yeah.
never really got a chance to grow. Because there's stuff I can do on my own. It's so easy for me to just run down to my basement, get on my gear like you got here,
Yep.
and kick something out. And
Yeah.
then if I don't like it, I can pitch it. Or is it the next part of that growth process where, okay, the seed is now growing, but it hasn't fully matured yet.
I wish I had a spot in my house to do this. I love that I have a spot to come and do it if I want to. But
well, this is nice because you're getting away from your home, and I'm here for this.
Yep.
And I like that
Yep.
about that, because I've contemplated getting out of my house, but it's like, how much money are we making doing podcasting? Let me think here. Carry the one. It's a labor of love. And
it really is, man. Well, it's kind of like the lifestyle that we chose when it comes to music too. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Being a musician.
It's really just because you love the lifestyle and love what it. I don't know.
Creative process. It's the camaraderie, the brotherhood.
Sure.
Yeah. You all of a sudden your family grows.
Yeah.
I mentioned that in a recent podcast when I got back into music, because I was doing music in my youth.
Yeah.
I wasn't with the right people.
Right.
I was not with musicians. I was with people who thought it was cool to be in a band.
Right.
And we did one gig, and these guys were already planning their novels, their life stories. I am not shitting you, Greg.
Wow.
2 of the band members already started talking about writing their book. What their how they came in to be this famous musician. I'm like, we got to plan for the next gig. Let's plan that first.
Yeah.
Before you call anybody.
Yeah.
HarperCollins isn't going to take your call quite yet. Let's get gig number 2 under our belts.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I wasn't with the right people, and they fell away quickly.
Yeah.
Which that happens because being a musician is work. Yes, it's a labor of love, and that's why you got to start with it. You got to start with how much do I want this, and how much do I love this. do I want to dedicate that much time and effort to it? Because it's not like you just show up and you go to a gig and everybody knows their stuff and the songs are there. No, you got to craft that stuff. Or if you're doing covers, you got to bust your ass and you got to get tight with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to go out there and hump.
Yeah.
And then you got to try to do show after show, but you still have to maintain all your relationships.
Yeah.
You got to find the right people that click with you in that band. Yeah. And that is the uphill battle, man.
Oh, yeah.
And try finding a drummer in the Twin Cities.
Oh, yeah. Or bass player even.
Like Nick. You had Nick on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's been struggling trying to get a drummer.
For a while now, too.
For a very long while, man. He had Danny for so many years that he worked with since the late 80s, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Danny's a phenomenal drummer, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's sense of timing. I worked with them in A Call to Arms.
Yep.
And it was funny because we recorded, Nick doesn't record to a click. And I said, well, can't we just copy this here and paste this here? And then we can get through things a little bit quicker. And he's like, well, we didn't record to a click. Let me try it. So he does that. He copies it and he pastes it over and it fit.
Yeah.
I'm like, Danny is he's a beast.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. Metronome mind, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
you know, dude, having him on here, you know, and this was the thing is like, I saw him, I want to say pre-COVID or maybe I don't know the time frame, but I saw him post something and it was him kind of lashing out, being pissed about not being able to find people to jam with, and that just being frustrated with how it all works. You know what I mean? And knowing Nick for as many years as I've known him, and it's not like we're friends or like close friends or anything, but I've always considered him one of the guys that has been around as long as I have doing this thing.
Yeah.
And I always felt like, and I said this to him and many other people before this too, is that I'm super fortunate, super lucky to get the opportunities that I had to jam with the bands, with the people, in the clubs, you know what I mean, and show opportunities. Yeah. So I really felt for him when he was having this moment, you know, and he's like, nobody really seems to give a fuck, you know what I mean? And I gave a shit. I was like, dude, you should come on the show. We could talk about old times, you know what I mean, about playing old shows and whatnot. And he was like, dude, thanks for just reaching out, you know what I mean? And it was heartfelt, you know what I'm saying? Then we had to cancel it. I think either he got sick or I got sick, and it was like a long stretch in between, you know what I mean? And it wasn't that he was kind of lashing out again. I just was like, dude, let's do this podcast that we said we were going to do, you know, and have him come on. And, you know, I even kind of talking to him, I felt like, you know, like I asked him, do you feel like you were looked over sometimes? You know what I mean? And he hit it right on the head. He's like, I've never really been an extroverted person, you know? When I played with Warhead back in the day, when Lobotomy played with Warhead back in the day, when Necromus played with Warhead back in the day, he was always a quiet guy, you know what I mean? He wasn't the dude to come out and go, hey man, how's it going? You know, and like be, you know, try to be like the main guy in the room, you know what I mean? Like, to where
that's not his personality, right?
Yeah, it's just not his personality, you know. And
I think that's part of the reason he doesn't want to be the singer. I don't think he wants to put himself out like that.
To me, for a guy that's been doing it for so long, you know what I mean? I still feel like people should fucking pay attention to what he was doing. You know what I mean? Like his entire time of playing in the music scene in Minneapolis and Minnesota and St. Paul, wherever, you know what I'm saying? He's been chewing at that shit for this long. You know what I mean? He's been putting himself deep into it, not only in guitar, but then into bass and into playing drums and then into vocals. And, you know, he's basically doing everything that he could, you know what I mean? And collaborating with Josh Kellerman and collaborating with other musicians in town. You know, I feel not shitty, but you just kind of like, you feel kind of bummed that people get overlooked, or you feel like they you know what I mean? Like they work really fucking hard to do this shit and people don't take it into consideration. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes people get looked over, or they get gate kept. You know what I mean? The gatekeepers will keep you there because they don't feel like you're, and I've done that to people. I've said that with people will ask me about that shit on the podcast about it.
There's a lot of people, a lot of insecurity in the music scene.
I agree.
I think it draws people who have those insecurities.
Yeah.
I think the music is that connection with others. And I think Nick is that way in a fashion to where he's at a show. He's not one to come to you.
Yeah.
If you come, he'll talk.
Oh yeah.
But I think that made people think he thinks he's better than us or he's an ass.
Yeah.
And so many people that are work that way,
Yeah.
I think get pigeonholed in that fashion where it's like,
I agree.
oh, he's just gonna sit over there and he's not gonna go socialize. And
dude, after the podcast, I don't think that I ever felt as connected to Nick
that was a great podcast. I was listening to that going, yeah, I'm glad Nick opened up, and I'm glad he was the way he was talking.
Once we shut this all off, we sat here for another 2 hours just bullshitting. He was like, dude, I mean, he really opened up. Now he didn't have the fucking cameras and the lights on him. You know what I mean? He just sat.
And the strippers. We'll get to you later, girls.
Yeah. You guys keep on the pole over there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We don't. Yeah, just stay over there. Anyway, yeah, it was like it was cool, man, to connect with them like that. And
nice.
to me, it meant a lot because we had both been here since we were kids. You know what I mean? And he still wants to play. He still wants to keep going. You know,
still got the creative.
And
juices.
what's sad about it is, I mean, the saddest thing is that he was very happy that Greg from OTM, came to jam with him, and he's got family issues going on. First it was the work thing, then it's family issues. It's just kind of not the right time for those guys to work. I talked to Greg, he's like, I feel really bad, but I got so much shit going on right now, changing jobs. His daughter just had a premature kid. You know what I mean? So he's like and his son just moved back home, had a bunch of seizures. I mean, he's just got so much shit going on. I felt so bad for him because he was like, I'm so stoked to have a drummer, somebody to jam with, and he's a good guy and a good drummer, and he was excited about it. And then like a couple days later, he's like, now I'm back at the fucking drawing board. Who wants to come and, jam? I felt so horrible for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
I saw that post.
It's just tough.
I had a similar situation when I first actually was putting together Mortificator.
Yeah.
I think it was just in Monaghan at the time, but maybe I'm misremembering. I might have been in a Call to Arms and Monaghan at the time. Yes, I was. I was in a Call to Arms on Monaghan, and I was starting to put together Mortificator as kind of an idea of a side project.
Sure.
And because I started to think that maybe I was out of a Call to Arms. I was thinking Mortificator is we're pulling back. We're not doing as many shows. We don't have a drummer. We're playing with a drum machine.
Yeah.
And I want to do something that's my own. I've been, ever since I got back into music, when I got into Metal Vengeance, with Kyle Zeus and Rick and Graham, I was like, oh my God, I've been missing this.
Yeah.
And it was a snowball effect. Okay, now I got to do more of this. Got tight with the covers. Okay, we get rid of Rick. We changed the band name to Minnesota Metal Factory, and we have to rebuild a little bit, but we're going to keep on steamrolling.
Right.
But I was always joining other people's projects. I guess Metal Factory, I was kind of a little bit more in with that one. The name was mine, but the most of the songs were carryovers from Metal Vengeance.
Yeah.
And I was still the third guy out of the group of three that was bringing the band forward. Then I'm joining A Call to Arms, and I'm the vocalist. I'm joining Red Gem Hades. I'm just the guitar player.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this isn't really completely servicing my creative juices.
Right.
And that's where Mortificator, that process begins.
Right.
And I got lucky finding the guys that I found. And when you talk about trying to find a frickin' drummer, I just fell into my lap, a drummer and a bass player.
Right.
Where was I going with this? with in regards to I was, as I'm putting all that together Mortificator. I'm sorry, not Mortificator. Monaghan is kind of not happening anymore. It's slowly, I feel like it's fading or turning into more of a studio project.
Yep.
And I'm starting to build this thrash band Mortificator, but I want to do a blues band.
Right.
I need that other taskmaster, which is I want to be a lead. I want to play, if I'm going to be in a blues band, I think I want to sing for it, but I definitely want to play lead guitar.
Yeah.
I am not a lead guitar player per se, which means I need to get better at it. I need to learn it.
More time. Yeah.
Here's this thing that's going to push me. that there's a reason to do this now, and I need to push forward because I need to be better at it.
Right.
And I want to be good at it. I don't want to go on a stage and not perform properly.
Yeah.
So I'm putting together a blues band at the same time I'm working with Mortificator and getting that thing going. And we get a drummer that comes with the guitar player / other vocalist.
Yeah.
This guy comes in and he is rock solid. And he owns I think he was co-owner of a business, or he was the manager of a business or something like that. He's got all of his crap together. He's got all of his teeth and he's got his own transportation. So it's manna from heaven. This drummer, I never met the guy.
Yeah.
He comes to my house. He plays my drum kit. We play him a song. He hears it. He's like, I've never heard that song before. Oh, okay. Well, here, we'll play it. We spin that thing up. He hears it one time. And he's like, okay, let's play it. He played this song perfectly.
Yeah.
After hearing it one time, I'm like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, he says, I can't do the band thing. If you guys want to jam, I'll come and jam every once in a while, but I can't do the band thing because my kid's starting T-ball and and I'm like,
so much stuff going on.
So I know exactly what Nick's going through. It's like you're oh my God, here it is.
Perfect.
This thing is going to start happening, and all of a sudden, here the rug, whoosh, and you're back on your ass going. Oh. Yeah. So the blues thing just kind of died from there.
Yeah.
That, and my aunt was stalking the singer guy, so he didn't want to work with me after he was getting close to putting a restraining order out. So it didn't quite pan out.
Thank you, Angel. Appreciate it. Angel said, I really like the YouTube format. Always good to see faces with the voices. Your tie-dye tapestry is amazing. Thank you very much.
Yes,
I appreciate that. That's one of 3 that I actually did. I have 4 more tapestries that size. I couldn't find them for a really long time. The whole COVID thing turned me into this tie-dye freak. Like I always loved tie-dyes. I had a friend whose wife did them all the time. She used to do bed sheets, like big ones, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? She was like, oh, you just tie it this way. And I had no clue. Well, my daughter comes home from grandma's house and she's got a tie-dye shirt on. And I'm like, where'd you get that shirt? And she goes, oh, I made it with grandma. And I go, you made it? How did you do it? And she went and changed her shirt. She brought it back. And she goes, yeah, we just did it like this. And then, rubber banded here. And then we took the bottles and dyed it, and I go, oh, you want to do that with me sometime? She goes, sure. And it was like 3 days later, I come in with a tie-dye kit. You know what I'm saying?
You called her bluff.
Yeah. And she goes, oh, okay. And so I'm like looking on YouTube. Now I wanted to have, a way to tie it, to know how to do it before she showed me how to do it. Like I wanted to make sure that we got them good, So I bought 2 tie-dye kits, and then I looked on YouTube how to tie some things, and then I tied a few, washed them, did all the things you have to do with them. We get like halfway through, and she goes, Dad, you're better at this than me. Can you just do mine too? And I'm like, okay, and then all of a sudden it was just like head first into this shit. I just loved it. Absolutely loved what I was doing. So I was doing like hand towels, like dish towels. I started doing a bunch of them, and I started figuring out how to tie things. Dude, there are guys out there that I hit one artist up just to see if he would do a shirt my size. He refused to do a 4X shirt. I was like, why? And he goes, because I can do 5 larges in the time it would take me to tie up a 4X. And I'm like, I didn't understand it because I was working with 4Xs myself, no problem. I was like, whatever. But then I started looking at his design patterns, and dude, this guy he did one the other day that he had 12 hours in just tying it up, right? But dude, when he unfolded this thing, it was just unbelievable. So I was looking for tapestries to do when I got into it, because I was doing these small dish towels, these little, regular, the white towels that people call them bread towels sometimes, So I'm looking for these tapestries and I cannot find them. I run into this lady on the tie-dye forums. She says, yes, I can get, blank tapestries. Bought 7 of them, did 3 and just kind of let them sit because it's just so much. I mean, each one of these is a different little swoop and you got to tie it. I understand why that guy spent so much time into it, and he wanted to charge $100 a t-shirt. You know what I mean? And he gets it, no problem, because he is fucking top notch at what he does. Absolutely amazing. If you were on any sort of hallucinogen, you would think your shirt was trying to eat you, because it's just the shit he does is just insane, you know, color combinations and how he, you know, if you look at this, you can kind of see flaws in it. You know what I mean? And with anything, when you do something, you see your flaws in what you do in it, right?
Right.
When I show those
yes.
to people, they're like, dude, those are badass. You know what I mean? And I'm looking, oh, that's messed up there. That's messed up there. When I look at a Justin Biffer shirt, there's no flaws in it, because this dude he's only been doing it like 4 or 5 years, not really that long.
But what if he were to look at his own art, would he find his flaws?
Absolutely.
Right. So we're all built that way.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. But he's doing other.
So I hope you're not thinking of yourself lesser because you think he's greater. That's what I'm saying.
No,
that he doesn't make mistakes. See, he'll see his mistakes. You see your mistakes, but those of us that are seeing it
still think it's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you don't know what you're looking for. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying we're wrong?
No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that
so we suck is what you're saying.
I'm saying that I'm a perfectionist at times, to the point where
you want to get better at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, with Justin at the same time, as much as I was like, fuck you, guy, you're not going to do a 4X shirt. I'll pay you $100 for a shirt. I'll send you a damn shirt. You know what I'm saying? And I was upset with it, but he would always show his beginning and where he's at now, you know, and he would always say, just remember, you always have to start somewhere, and this is where you can be when you get to that point, you know? And that was the cool part about that guy. As much as I wanted to shit on him for it, and kind of did publicly, but
he was right too.
He was right. And he continues to get better. Like this style is not a bottle dye. This is a completely different style. And I had to learn this style from guys that were barely showing it to people. They were like, yeah, we're going to keep it underneath here. We're not going to show. I mean, there's like one guy from Kansas City. His name is Kurt Wallace. And Kurt Wallace is the master of the Phoenix, and he does these, it looks like the moon over water. So it looks like a moon, and it does multiple colors in the moon pattern. And then it comes down, and then it trickles into like where it looks like the moon is over the water and it's glistening over the water. And the colors come down and they like trickle into the water. Dude, he does some amazing shit. But he was the first guy that I saw doing that style of dyeing. And then Biffer picked it up, and then there are several other. Carl the Borg, he picked it up. I mean, there are so many great dyers out there, way more than anybody even has a clue about. Once I started getting into it and getting into that creative process, nothing else mattered, because literally, dude, I felt like you could take this little bit of dye, put it into this fabric and manipulate it. And when you opened it, like, you had an idea of where it was going, but the process and the dyeing, and I mean, Jared Singer's one of the guys that was like, dude, you should really, videotape these things that you're doing, He's like, I think that your YouTube channel would skyrocket and you'd make money off of it. And I bought cameras to do it. I mean, everything. I have everything to do it, but I just haven't done it because there are so many good dyers out there. But here's where he got me with it. He said, yeah, but they didn't go the way you did. They didn't learn the way you did. Where you're at, you're selling your stuff. Dude, it basically got me out of my apartment into a new townhome with all of the shirts that I sold. I sold a fuck ton of shirts. Nice. All shipping too. It wasn't, you couldn't really meet up with anybody during COVID. I was just sending them in the mail, and I wasn't, $25, $35. That's it, where other dyers are $50, $60, $100 a shirt. Kurt Wallace, that dude charges $100, $150 a shirt, but those are some of the most beautiful pieces you'll ever see in your life. That Carl the Borg, that dude he is insane. Him and Justin Biffer are by far the best dyers I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? But that consumed me, this whole thing. Thanks, Angel, for getting me on this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Angel.
But yeah, it just consumed me, man. I absolutely loved it. I still do. I haven't done a lot of I probably have 70 shirts just sitting around that I haven't tried to sell or anything. I mean, because I planned on like making a booth, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to like go to a show, set it up, hang out with people, enjoy the show, sell a couple tie-dyes, you know what I mean? Like I think it was you or somebody else goes, oh yeah, when shows come back in, everybody's going to be, like an Easter egg or say something. So I think it was you that said that everybody's going to have tie dyes. It's going to be like I remember you saying something about it. Say, people were picking up tie dyes. Oh shit, everybody's going to have a tie dye on, and it's, it's just kind of funny. We all wear black t-shirts, now it's, Bill Hansen sent me a grindcore band, t-shirt with a guy that was like, disemboweled upside down. And he's like, hey, can you tie dye this thing? And he kind of just gave me a color scheme. He's like, just make it, like coagulated blood colors. You know what I mean? So I pondered on it. Then the shirt didn't come. Then he's like, oh, I'm sending it. Right. So I dyed it halfway. I separated the front and the back. I did the back. The back looked fucking awesome. But I separated the front because I wanted to keep the image to where you could really read it. And then I was like, oh, this looks horrible. So then I just re-dyed the front. And then I thought for sure that he wouldn't like it. And he's like, dude, that's badass. And I was like, okay, cool. That's
So was it a white shirt to begin with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't any other color off white.
But I've done some, some reverse style things. I've done a couple of those.
Well, I just was wondering regarding the artwork itself and how that played with the existing canvas that you were working with.
Yeah. So I tried to keep it because basically,
hey, that's an idea right there, because there's so many white shirts. I would like to get like a Metallica Crash Course in Brain Surgery shirt, but I hate white shirts.
Yeah.
I will ruin a white shirt with the first taco or whatever it is. I'm gonna screw it up.
It might not even fall on your shirt. It might hit your beard and then, kind of like
drag across.
Make a pattern.
Well, that may be the beginnings of the pattern, but that's an idea to where people could send you those band shirts that they like the art, but they don't like white.
Yeah.
And you could do something with either with their direction or just your own
Joe Spanbauer sent me all, he brought over 50 shirts. I think it was 25 or 50 shirts. I think it was, I don't remember. But he brought over Sweet Addiction shirts, and I tie-dyed each one of them different. I made sure it was different color schemes, different.
A merch opportunity for bands too.
Yeah, but it's not cheap. You know what I mean?
Well,
because you have to print them. And I had other people hit me up too and go, and I didn't want to charge them, like a full price of what I'm charging, you know what I mean? And then it's really not that high, but now you have markup already before you sell it to somebody. So now you got to mark it up even higher. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, first of all, make sure your band members are sexy.
Yep.
You throw those sexy band members in those sexy shirts.
Right.
And they'll sell themselves.
Yeah.
At the very least, you do a one run, a limited supply of them.
Yeah.
The band members can use them as gifts even.
Yeah.
We'll hand them out to their girlfriends, their wives,
Yeah.
their wives' girlfriends, whatever it might be. And everybody's wearing these cool, unique shirts that you own. Every one of them is unique to a degree.
Yeah.
And they're
each one of those Sweet Addiction shirts was different. Every one of them. There wasn't one that was. I mean, the pattern might have been a little similar, but the colors were all different. There were, like I really. And what's crazy about it is I told him, dude, it's going to take me a few weeks to get to it. I was doing like 4 or 5 or 6 of them a day. I think the most I did in one day was 8 of them. That means wash them, soak them in soda ash, fucking spin dry them out a little bit so they're still damp, tie them all up, and then start fucking dyeing. You know what I mean? So I'd have a stack of tied ones, and then I'd just start dyeing. I set them all on the rack and just fucking throw the dye on them and do my business with it and fucking let it go. But that was my dude. There were times where my fucking hands were just like, I can't do anymore.
Where was your daughter through this whole process? You could assembly line this.
Dude, I tried to get her back into it, and she just didn't. She didn't want nothing to do with it, man. She's
a one and done.
Yeah, I bought her and her friend. We're going to a concert with her friend, but tomorrow. But I bought them both a specific style that they really wanted these shirts. Like, oh yeah, we can get them. And I go, well, let's dye them together. Let's just all get together. They dyed them. Her friend took it home, tied it in a bag, threw it in her closet. She forgot about it, washed it out. All the dye came out, but like these little weird pink things on there. She ruined the fucking shirt. I was so mad. I was like, we took the time. I taught her how to tie it. She dyed it. My daughter did the same thing. She was just like, Dad, we're going to go upstairs. Will you just finish it? You know what I mean? I'm going, are you kidding me? Come on. This is supposed to be a thing together, she laughed because, during the whole COVID thing, like I told her, I'm not going to give you any more money. You're going to figure out a hustle. You got to figure out something, So she started making bracelets, and she actually made a bunch of money off of making bead bracelets and bead necklaces for people. Nice. And it was really cool, just to have her doing something like that. She did lip balm and I know it was lip balm for sure, but there was something else. And she was selling lip balms online for a little while and made enough money to buy herself an Xbox and then just quit. I'm like, what are you doing? I showed her, I looked it up. I was like, we can label these. We can, everything. I'll buy all the stickers. And I go, you already have the money for it right now. This is what you need to do 50 lip balms. You know what I mean? You've already got the flavors that you already have from the first purchase that you made. I go, we'll just do it, have it all ready for you and you'll be able to make money off of it. Okay. Yeah. As soon as she made money, that was it. She's done, no more work. I'm good.
So her entrepreneurial spirit is basically limited to once she can make the purchase.
Yep. That's it.
And then she moves on. So it's,
yeah. Yep.
Oh, we've all been there, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I like to try to keep these a little shorter. We're 2 hours in. I appreciate you coming in, dude. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. We don't do it enough. I think we should plan on doing a couple of these again, soon.
Yeah, we could even come up with something, a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get a top 10 list from you for our top 10 live albums list for our 200th episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were quite busy with that whole thing.
with the whole
the wedding.
Yeah, the wedding and then the shows, and I mean it's been crazy.
Yeah.
COVID turned me into a sewing freak. Angel said, was she sewing a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The quilting stuff.
Quilting. Yeah, big time into quilting.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys got some mean quilts around the house or what?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the picture of the guitar she made for me.
No, I didn't.
Guitar quilt.
Maybe I did. I'm so fucking schizoid. It just go. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, and there's so much you see as you're scrolling through social media. But and they make great gifts. And
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. That's what people got for Christmas when I did that. You know what I mean? I was giving those away to the kids, and my mom got some. Tie-dye stuff. So, yeah.
So, real quick, I mean.
Yeah.
I was hoping to reach out to you because we ended up having to postpone the recording of the episode. But then again, I wasn't sure the timeline and of course, your whole situation with the wedding and stuff. If you could give me 3 of your top live albums, and they don't have to be like the top 3, like 1, 2, 3. But like if you're going to think of the top 20 and you could pull like 3 albums out of that.
Right out of my head right now.
Yes.
3 albums, live albums.
3 live albums that for you are
Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies.
I think that was one of Nate's.
That's top. That's probably top one of mine is Band of Gypsies is one of mine. I would say live albums that I can think of. Off the top of my head, Bob Seger, Silver Bullet Band.
Oh, nice.
The live version of that red cover. I think I probably have it over there. What is the other one? Ooh.
I smell smoke.
Yeah.
You're thinking.
I'd have to think about that one. I for the longest time, I just didn't like live albums because it derives from. I didn't understand the creative process of improvisation. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear the album when it's recorded, you want to hear it exactly the way you hear it on the radio.
I think I used to be the same way
for so many years. And then there was one when I hit that Silver Bullet Band album where they were just so jammy and great through the whole thing. And then you hear them on the radio where they're different versions of it. And I was like, oh, that's not as cool as the live version of it.
Well,
Ted Nugent's is another one too. There's a live
Double Gonzo.
I like that one too.
And some of those they don't play the studio versions on the radio. If you tune into KQRS, Twin Cities Local Radio, they're going to play Turn the Page from that live album.
Yep.
If you go listen to that studio version, which I think was 1972, and I think I included that on Time Travel Radio, so people could hear it because it's actually not even on Spotify.
Right.
The original studio version.
Yeah.
That it is not as good. It is still an interesting song, and it's a good song, but it's in the live setting. it is
the feel of it is just
superior, and the changes they made. So they're touring that song. They in the studio, they craft it, and it's all there. Sometimes they're working on it before they go in the studio. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need another song. Turn the page. Here we go. This is how we're gonna do it. Then,
dude, you know what song? I don't mean to cut you off. You know what song kills me live? Whipping Post.
Oh, Allman Brothers.
By the Allman Brothers. That fucking, there's one particular version though, man, that is, God, I want to say it's in California version of it. There's something in like 1970 something. Fuck, I wish I had that in my head, but it is absolutely amazing. I have it in my selection here, but oh my God.
But yeah, so as the bands are touring that, and you're working with all these, and sometimes it's you create in the studio, you have studio musicians, and then you get on the road, and maybe you're not working with those same guys.
Yeah.
So maybe you get a little bit of different blood involved in that process as you're touring this. And sometimes those songs grow, like you're talking about, that improvisation. That's what they did with Turn the Page. So if you listen to like the saxophone portion alone in the studio version, and then you listen, or even just remember, you don't even have to hear it because you probably heard it thousands of times. You're like, wow, they really tweaked that and made that song better.
Right.
And I prefer the live version as a result. Peter Frampton comes alive. You listen to the studio versions of Peter Frampton songs, and it's like, oh, they're okay. But there's something different when that
nuances
to
it. Yeah.
And I think I was the same as you, man. I think it's like, I want to hear the studio. I want to hear Master of Puppets. I don't want to hear Lars half-assing the drums on a live version. I want that studio version.
Right.
But sometimes there's a magic that they can capture.
Yeah.
Or they do something a little bit different because they've been improv through a few different shows or years of playing that song. Where all of a sudden it's like, holy buckets.
They're beefing it up for themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been playing the same thing, and you know what I mean? They really let it go on that particular thing. Yeah.
And one thing I learned with that episode 202 as well was going through Rush and listening to their early live stuff and then jumping over to the later live stuff.
Yeah.
And then looking at the catalog of all of their live stuff through the years, I'm like, I am grateful for bands that can do that. First of all, perform well live. That's key.
Yeah.
If you suck live, you're not going to have a good product. And I can see why Megadeth doesn't have a lot of live albums.
Right.
Dave's not like the greatest live singer.
Yeah.
Phenomenal guitar player, but his live vocals leave some things to be desired.
Oh, yeah.
At least all the times I've heard him. But throughout the years, you get these little snapshots in time as you go through Rush's discography.
Yeah.
And songs that they weave in and out throughout the years. And it's like, I was like, I'm so grateful that they did that. They did that they took the time to release these albums. Some of them maybe aren't as good as others, but they're still from the 70s all the way up until they retired.
Yeah.
There's a whole ton of, there's at least 11 or 12 or 13 live albums.
Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah, so I am very grateful for bands that do that. But then there's some bands that capture that lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
And put out that awesome thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought we're going to do this top 10.
There's a local band here that I feel has not captured their sound as well as they do live. And that's the band Trida. If you've ever seen Trida, I had them at Lee's Liquor Lounge. It was the first time I had ever.
I want to say yes. I know the name is familiar, and I've been to a bunch of those Lee
I've
shows.
listened to their stuff on disc, and it just doesn't do what it does for me live. Like we had them in March. They fucking blew my fucking mind, man. I was just like, wow, dude. And I remember the week prior to that, I had played some of their stuff on the show. I like downloaded a few of their albums and listened to it, and it's great stuff. Don't get me wrong, but their live show just catapults them way above what they do in the studio. I felt, you know what I mean? Like they're just
I definitely know what you mean.
Amazing fucking live band.
I felt the same way with Mortificator. I was like, what I'm hearing on the CD isn't what it's not capturing what we don't. I think we're. The live setting just has something that we're not able to replicate in the studio, and we can't even bring ourselves into that world. We can't pull that energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's over, especially drummers. Sometimes they get a little overexcited. And all of a sudden, that song that's already hard on that right wrist to riff, becomes damn near impossible to where I'm a down, or I used to be a primary down picker. I used to be able to play Master Puppets down picking. And then, of course, taking so many years off didn't help.
Yeah.
But there's some of the stuff I would write. It's like, I'm down picking this. And then I get in the show and it's like, oh, nope, I'm alternating tonight because Zeus is on fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I've had many of those situations, man, where you get. I said that to a band that we had at Skyway. I was like, they go, yeah, our set's 25 minutes tops, and I said, you got to slow down. And they go, he looks at me, he goes, yeah, we get a little fast anyway. We might only have 20 minutes. I go, you better slow down and talk a lot. And the guy looked at me like, are you serious? And I go, fuck yeah, man. Slow down, dude. You got to slow down. You got to talk to the drummer and say, hey, man, slow down. Take that shit down. He's like, okay, I'll try. Fuck no, those guys were
as soon as it's 1, 2, 3, 4, the lights are up and the people are starting to come towards the stage, all bets are off.
Yeah, for sure, man. I miss it. I wish I still played.
Yeah, I do too, man. I go to shows. If I go to a show, it's like I'm sidelined and it's like, I should be on that stage too.
Yeah, dude. I know how that goes, man, for sure.
Yeah,
well,
so
thank you, dude, for coming in. I appreciate it so much. We should do this again for sure.
Yes, definitely. We won't let it go so long next time.
Yeah, man, for sure. I promise. We'll get in here again and do it. We should do it on a Saturday where we could do it in the afternoon and be more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You know what I'm saying? I'm beat from work, man. I'm just fucking dog tired.
I can understand
in this bitch.
It,
Thank you very much for coming, man.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for people tuning in too.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, folks. I really appreciate you coming and checking it out. Oh, I forgot to do this too. Do me a favor, check out Lowbrow Saints Tattoo Collective, 612-353-4755, lowbrowsaints@gmail.com. If you're looking to get tattooed, Lowbrow Saints is the place that I like to go. They're good folks over there, some fantastic tattoo artists, and I love to throw business their way. So if you do end up going over there to get tattooed, let Jason know or one of the tattoo artists know that Ritual Madness Podcast sent you. Don't forget to check out ritualmadnesspodcast.com. We got all kinds of stuff there. There's a ton of episodes, 234 or 35. I think this is 230. Oh, fucking A. I don't even know what my numbers are right now.
Do you still have your Amazon link, by the way?
I do have my Amazon link. Yes.
It's jacked on your site then.
Is it?
Yeah. I've been meaning to reach out to you, so now I'm telling you.
Oh, it's okay. I'll just go in there and fix it.
Because I need to update my link on my browser back to yours.
Yeah.
Because I was doing another podcast for a while, and it's like, okay, I got to get Greg's.
Sure.
And then I'd go look at your site and go, okay, something's not right.
Yeah.
And I keep forgetting about it.
I will monkey with it, man. I'm always,
at the very least, send it to me in a chat, but you should fix it so people can support it.
Awesome. I apologize if people have been having some errors with that. I think it's. I haven't checked it in a while. I haven't checked it in a while. So
there's a lot of other stuff that does work on your site, but yeah, that link is it's broken or something. I forget. I forget what it was, and it's been a while since I clicked on it. But you just reminded me when you were talking about your website.
I will do that, man. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. I appreciate you very much. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll be back next week with Dan Copperrood from the drummer from Sublevel. Back in the day, and a special guest, his buddy Sam O'Connell. And Sam's been a fan of the Sublevel thing that we did way back, and Sam wanted to come in and ask a few questions and kind of chat over some old Sublevel stuff. So tune in for that one with Dan Copperrood next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good evening. Peace out.
Ritual Madness Podcast. Ritual Madness Podcast. Ritual Madness.